Chapter 258. In an instant, a wave of frost poured in. Xing Jingjing felt as if she was in a world of ice and snow. She felt the chill seeping into her bones, causing her to shiver uncontrollably and forget the effect of maintaining her supernatural ability. Her figure quickly faded in front of Lu Cheng's eyes and reappeared at a slightly different angle. That was to say, although it was the same forward punch that hit Lu Cheng's left rib, one of them was on the right while the other was on the center. If Lu Cheng had counterattacked according to his original judgment, he would have missed by 1,000 miles. Witnessing this scene, Lu Cheng closed his eyes and stopped looking at the specific situation. Based on the position he had just memorized and the possibility of Xing Jingjing's dodging, he took a step diagonally and lowered his waist. His abdominal muscles and lateral fascia swelled up, brushing against the air and creating an abnormal sound. Whoosh! Lu Cheng felt like a snowy mountain was collapsing in his mind. He swung his right arm and his fist penetrated the airflow at high speed, connecting with the previous sound. It was as if a fierce tiger was released and roaring in the forest. The nearby audience felt numb and trembled slightly. Bang! His fist hit the body of flesh and blood, but it was firmly blocked. Lu Cheng calmed down and didn't do much, because this wasn't the power that Xing Jingjing could have. In the ring, there was only one person who could do this. He opened his eyes and saw that the referee blocked his punch. Xing Jingjing's face was pale because of the cold, and the hair on her temples was slightly messed up by the storm caused by his punch. If there was no external force, she would have been hit in the temple. The referee glanced at Lu Cheng's left rib and withdrew his hand. He raised it and announced loudly, "Lu Cheng wins." Following the referee's gaze, Lu Cheng found that red blood was flowing out of his left rib and soaking his torn martial arts suit red. It was a bloody scene. Although the strength of his whole body was as one and he could exert force in most parts, because of the characteristics of his body and the way he trained day after day, the strength of his lower rib couldn't be compared with the strength of his hands and feet. After counteracting almost all of Xing Jingjing's strength, his flesh was still penetrated by her 5 fingers. However, with the counteraction, this was only a very light wound. It looked like it was bleeding, but it didn't hurt much. Lu Cheng controlled the muscles and fascias around the wound carefully. In a short time, the bleeding was stopped, leaving only 5 tightly closed marks. This was one of the abilities of Dan's stage. Win, win, win. You scared me to death. Eternal Nightfall. Yan Shaoling let out a long sigh and quickly posted a post. In the fight just now, she suspected that if Lu Cheng didn't win, she would be the first one to suffocate herself to death. It's not easy. That girl's supernatural ability seems to be very strong. If she didn't meet Lu Cheng, she would definitely be a dark horse that can overturn most of the seeds, praised unparalleled Dragon King. Brahman sent a jumping emoji. My idol is the best at curing all disobedience. At this moment, Okamoto's fan appeared. I, Huhan-san, am back. It's the spring festival. No, it's a great opportunity for Lu Cheng to win. I'm going to drive. I remember you. You're a fake driver. Yan Shaoling pointed out, indignantly. Brahman also shouted, I remember you too. Don't leave after school. Unparalleled Dragon King did not say anything. He only posted a picture to express his disdain for the old driver. On the picture was a cold expression and 8 big words, her nature is the cause of calamity, cut it off and cure it forever. Hearing the referee's announcement, Chao Lele and the others, who had unconsciously clenched their fists, relaxed. They originally thought that the battle would be very easy, but it had developed to such a stage. Although it was short, it was thrilling enough. Just now, the camera from Lu Cheng's angle had shown the live broadcast on the big screen, showing the effect of Xing Jingjing's supernatural ability. This was completely different from what they saw when they looked at the arena from the stands. It also made them understand why Lu Cheng always made mistakes in judgment and was passively beaten. This supernatural ability is really scary. This is only the initial stage. If she continues to evolve, will she be on the same level as the physical invulnerability experts of the fantasy sect, dark sect and death sect? At this moment, the camera changed to focus on Lu Cheng's wound, letting the audience see the bloodstain. Yenjika covered her mouth and picked up her phone worriedly. Although she knew that Sister Jingjing would not hold back in the arena, which was a show of respect for Lu Cheng and martial arts, she still couldn't help but complain. How could she hurt Cheng? What's the test? In a situation where she didn't notice, the difference between family and distance was self-evident. Qi Fang was even more shocked. When she saw Lu Cheng walk down the arena and retrieve his phone from the competition supervisor, she immediately called him. Lu Cheng wanted to send a message to Yenjika, telling her not to worry. However, before he could unlock the screen, he received a call from his mother. How's your injury? Qi Fang went straight to the point, attracting the attention of Lu Jisheng and Qi Yunfei. Lu Cheng laughed and said, "It's okay. It's just a small injury. It won't affect the rest of the competition." Qi Fang's heart returned to its original place. Then she frowned and said, "Are all martial arts competitions this dangerous? It looks like it's easy to get injured." "Mom, this is normal. It's just like when you're cooking. If you occasionally get cut or hit, you won't stop cooking, right?" Lu Cheng gave an example to dispel his mother's concerns. Of course, this was a bit of a small matter. However, since he had chosen this path, there was no need to scare his family. "Okay." Qi Fang nodded with some doubts. Lu Cheng held the phone and looked around. When Wu Wei was about to come forward to interview him, he deliberately said loudly, "Mom, let's talk later. I'm going to the infirmary to clean my wound and put a band-aid on it." He didn't dare to say that the infirmary was called the emergency room. He didn't want to scare his mother. He took large strides and rushed into the emergency room before Wu Wei could get close to him. The doctor on duty was also watching the live broadcast. He was already prepared. When he saw Lu Cheng, he laughed and said, "Take off your clothes." Lu Cheng obediently took off his clothes. His upper body was bare, exposing the wound that had already stopped bleeding. At this time, he saw two young nurses getting close to each other while making medicine. He heard them whispering. "His body is really good. Yeah, I really want to touch it, you lustful woman. I'm just saying. I have professional ethics." Hee hee. Lu Cheng couldn't help but laugh. He didn't want to listen anymore. He simply took out his phone and chatted with Yenjika. When the doctor cleaned the blood around the wound, he took a selfie and sent it to his girlfriend. "See, it's nothing. It doesn't affect my strength." Besides, he had mastered the fine details of the dance stage. His self-healing ability was not at the same level as his body-refining ability. Yenjika glanced at it first to make sure that Lu Cheng wasn't comforting her. Then she blushed and replied shyly, "Pervert. Rogue. How dare he send me a nude picture? Although it's only his upper body. But Cheng's body is not bad." She did share a bed with Lu Cheng and touched his abs. However, she was too shy to look at them. After Gu Shuang met up with Xing Jingjing, she said nervously, "Sister Jingjing, you hurt Kuzman. It's just a test. You can stop at the critical moment. This is respect." Xing Jingjing said concisely. Okay. That's it. I really don't understand you martial arts fanatics." Gu Shuang tucked her hair behind her ear and sighed helplessly. "Didn't we talk about it in the arena? After the competition, we should visit him. At least we'll be acquaintances in the future. I don't know martial arts, but I know manners." "Okay." Xing Jingjing didn't refuse. Leading her into the emergency room, Gu Shuang saw Lu Cheng, who had put on his martial arts suit again. She found that he looked good and moved freely. His injury seemed to be very light. She pulled Xing Jingjing and asked her to speak first. "Are you okay?" Xing Jingjing took a step closer to her best friend and asked in a low voice, her voice tense. "It's nothing. It's just a small injury. I can fight another round." Lu Cheng replied humorously. Sister Jingjing said that your martial arts are really good and you've passed her test. Gu Shuang added with a smile. Xing Jingjing immediately turned to look at her and silently asked, "When did I say such a thing?" Gu Shuang secretly stuck out her tongue and winked at her best friend. "You've lost. Doesn't that mean you've passed the test? I'm just helping you to translate your inner words." Thinking of this, she chuckled and said, "I haven't introduced myself yet. I'm Gu Shuang, Ku's childhood sweetheart. Ku often talks about you." Lu Qing replied politely. "She must have said something bad about me." Gu Shuang snorted with a smile. "That's true." Lu Qing complained in his heart and said with a smile, "No, no. She always praises you." It was said that this little sister had the ability to attract scumbags. Although she had changed her occupation to Flower Princess, most of the men she met were still scumbags. Ku couldn't help but complain. "Liar," Gu Shuang said proudly. "The main thing is that I'm not worthy of her praise. She's so self-deprecating." Lu Qing didn't know how to respond and could only laugh dryly. Gu Shuang glanced at the obviously uncomfortable Xing Jingjing and waved her hand. "Since you're fine, we'll leave first. Ku, we'll meet again in Gao Fun. Hee, this is my home ground." She was studying in a second-rate university in Gao Fun and her father's company had shifted its focus to the provincial capital. Chapter 259. After leaving the emergency room, Lu Qing went straight out of the stadium and found a quiet place. He called Yan Zhika and told her that Gu Shuang and Xing Jingjing had come to visit him. He didn't want her to feel bad about her best friend because of his injury. After a sweet talk, the girl continued to practice the internal training method of meteor force. Lu Qing walked back slowly with one hand in his pocket. When he passed by a few shops, he thought of something and sent a message to Jiang Fei. "Fatty Jiang, I'm outside. Do you want to eat something? There are sausages and corn." These days, he was busy practicing, preparing, watching and participating in the competition. Except for eating, he didn't have time to accompany his parents and 3 cousins. It was all thanks to Jiang Fei's help. He had to reward them. Of course. How can there be no food in the middle of a martial arts competition? Jiang Fei replied quickly and turned to Qiu Hailin and Chao Lele. "What do you want to eat?" Qing said it's his treat. For most people, it was like how could there be no popcorn in the middle of a movie? Me. I want a sausage and corn. Tell brother Lu Qing that the sausage needs to be spicy. The first to answer was Qi Yunfei, who was listening attentively. As she spoke, she felt that her saliva was about to flow out. Also, I want a cup of cola with ice or frozen. Well, I must have been too nervous just now. With her taking the lead, the others also let go of their reservations. Chao Lele, Qiu Hailin, and the other girls all ordered grilled sausages and corn. Fatty Jiang, Qing Qili, and Tao Xiaofei only wanted grilled sausages. Lu Cheng's parents also happily ordered 2 corn sticks. Seeing the list, Lu Qing smiled and did as he was told. He also bought several bottles of drinks and carried them back to the stadium. He walked along the aisle and approached the group of relatives and friends. "Here, your sausages and corn." He passed them from left to right one by one with a warm smile. This gave Chao Lele and the others a strange and subtle feeling. It seemed that they didn't know Lu Qing in front of them again. He was still fighting in the arena just now, but now he seemed to have done nothing. He was enjoying the martial arts competition with everyone like an ordinary person. Was he still the genius martial artist who had been so powerful these 2 days? Or was he still the hope of the martial arts world in Xing province on TV? His attitude to his family and friends was the same as before. In the evening, in the conference room of the Xing province TV station, a man who looked like a leader took out a cigarette. He didn't light it but just played with it in his hand. He said with a provincial accent, "The top 16 of the youth tournament have been decided. It's time for us to decide the finalists for the to record. My opinion is that there should be 18 of them." "No, director. What's the nickname this time? A woman wearing half-rimmed glasses asked. I don't have a clue for the time being. This meeting is for everyone to brainstorm. Come, give me your opinions. The leader smiled as he held his cigarette. A young man with messy hair thought for a while and said, for sovereigns, 6 kings, and 8 immortals look like this? For sovereigns, 6 kings, and 8 immortals. What would the physical invulnerability mighty one, who had obtained the title of king, think? A provincial youth tournament with such a domineering and cool nickname, are they trying to defy the heavens? A man who was addicted to web novels retorted. That's true. The woman with half-rimmed glasses thought for a while and suggested, for celestial spirits, 6 earthly fiends, and 8 immortals. For celestial spirits and 6 earthly fiends. That's not very symmetrical. But 8 immortals is fine. Let's decide on them first. As for the rest, you can think about it in the next few days. We have to decide on them in the next meeting. The leader changed the topic and said, let's not talk about the top 16. Who do you think will be the remaining 2? I suggest Xing Jingjing. Her supernatural ability of hallucination is very strong. If she hadn't met Lu Qing, the rest of the seeds would have been no match for her, the woman with half-rimmed glasses answered without hesitation. I also agree with Xing Jingjing. I have no objection. Everyone else expressed their agreement. Then let's choose Xing Jingjing, one of the 8 immortals. The leader said with great interest, she can create hallucinations, just like magic. Since she's one of the 8 immortals, I think there's a suitable nickname for her. What is it? The young man with messy hair asked curiously. Xiao Ma Xian. What do you think? The leader smiled proudly. The woman with half-rimmed glasses was stunned. She answered with a dull expression, if you think it's good, then it's really good. It's settled then. Let's move on to the next one. The leader patted the table heroically and was delighted with his talent for coming up with nicknames. I'll consider the top 16 one by one. In the afternoon, Lu Qing still came to the martial arts arena to watch every match. It was as if he had returned to the days when he participated in the Warrior Sage Challenge tournament. He didn't have the slightest contempt or neglect because he was about to enter the dance stage. Those who were able to enter the top 32 of the province's martial artists under the age of 26 were definitely not ordinary people. Watching their battles up close would more or less allow him to gain something. Furthermore, the victors had a certain probability of becoming his opponent tomorrow night. The top 16 began. In order to attract the most attention, the competition was changed to the evening prime time. In this way, people who had to work during the day could bring their families to the arena to relax or curl up on the sofa or bed and watch quietly. The next morning, without the pressure of the competition during the day, Lu Qing became more relaxed. He honed his still stance, moving stance, and fighting routine one by one. He also spent most of his time grinding his danqi state. When it was almost over, he set up his stance and closed his eyes. He recalled the subtle changes in his body during the sextuple explosion and the realization of holding his spirit and visualizing after the explosion of the dance stage. Once again, he tried to withdraw. His will sank and stirred the wind and clouds. His chi, blood, spirit, and strength suddenly withdrew and wrapped around each other. They were getting closer and closer, showing signs of blending with each other. This made Lu Qing more sensitive to his surroundings. Even malicious mosquitoes seemed to appear in his mind. The subtle feeling disappeared as soon as he touched it. The balance was disrupted. His chi and blood rushed out and his strength erupted. Lu Qing had to open his eyes to relieve the burden on his body. The explosion of the dance stage didn't only depend on energy and physical strength, but also the body's ability to bear the burden. But for Lu Qing, there was no need to worry. On the one hand, he had the improvement brought by the extreme training, and on the other hand, he had the Jin Dan to relieve fatigue and reduce pressure. He tried again and again. He was getting closer and closer to the dance stage. The actual combat training is quite useful. Maybe I can become a real mighty one of the dance stage before the end of this youth tournament. Lu Qing put away his stance and thought tiredly but joyfully. At 7:30 p.m., the Gaofen Martial Arts Stadium was brightly lit. The central arena was temporarily set up as a stage for drawing lots. In front of it were chairs with names written on the back. They were the seats for the guests and the top 16 fighters. Apart from the area that was specially made to separate the crowd, the surrounding stands were packed with people. Some were eating popcorn, some were taking photos with their phones, some were martial arts enthusiasts, and some were here to join in the fun and celebrate a family holiday. Lu Qing was sitting in the third seat from the left in the second row of the guest seats. He was sending words and pictures to Yan Zhika and patiently waiting for the drawing of lots to begin. In case he didn't have time to watch his opponent's fight videos because he was the first to enter the arena, he spent the whole day with his girlfriend studying the other fighters' fight videos except for training, resting, and eating. Yes, there were 15 fighters left except for him. Hey, why aren't we drawing lots yet? Lu Qing complained. Yan Zhika replied with a snickering emoji, are you nervous? That's not it. It's just that I'm always worried about something. Lu Qing replied with a smile. He was indeed nervous. If he couldn't hold on until Ku came back and didn't fulfill his promise of being in the top 4, he would lose face. But for someone who had been in the challenge tournament for a long time, this kind of nervousness was normal. There was no need to worry about it. At this moment, Yan Zhika was sitting in the departure hall with headphones on and watching the live broadcast on her tablet. She was chatting with her boyfriend and full of expectation. She didn't mention to Lu Qing that she had completely mastered the internal training method and had gotten the permission of her grandparents to graduate. She also didn't mention that she had booked a ticket for the 10:05 p.m. flight tonight. After the top 16 matches, she could board the plane and fly back, and Gu Shuang would pick her up. Hee, I also want to give you a surprise. Xiushan. Lu Yanwei was sitting on the sofa listlessly, watching his mother changing the channel and listening to his grandparents and father chatting. After careful consideration, he found that his original idea was not very practical. He had to give up for the time being and find a better way. Glancing at the TV, he suddenly froze and blurted out, Mom, which channel were you watching just now? AM. Am I seeing things? I think I saw someone. Wang Lily looked at her son reproachfully. What are you talking about? Mom, turn it back. Lu Yanwei sat up straight and frowned. Wang Lily didn't understand and turned the channel back. She nagged, just tell me what you want to watch. Stop. 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 Lu Yanwei's eyes lit up and he shouted. Wang Lily saw that the channel had stopped at Xing Province Satellite TV. She looked carefully and suddenly said in surprise, Hey, isn't this Cheng? Number 1 seed Zhang Zhutong vs. The guest drew a small ball. Number 4 seed Zhua Zhen. A match between the strong. Lu Qing sighed. Then he heard his name. Number 18 Lu Qing. The big screen began to roll with his match, and the guest reached his hand into the box. Number 5 seed Qiu Lin. Number 5 seed? Qiu Lin. Lu Qing narrowed his eyes and felt a little disappointed, but he wasn't afraid. Instead, he faintly felt a strong desire to fight. Qiu Lin was a real professional 8th pin expert who had participated in the ranking event of professional 7th pin. Although she failed in the end, it was enough to show her confidence. In addition, her ancestor was a disciple of Daxing Temple and she had the supernatural ability to metallize part of her body. Chapter 260. The 5th seed? Is she more powerful than the 9th seed? Lu Cheng's mother, Qi Fang, asked nervously when she saw the result of the draw. She vaguely remembered that Jiang Fei had said so, but she was not sure. Yes, Jiang Fei answered softly, feeling a little nervous. Although he and Chao Lele had never expected Lu Qing to be the champion or runner-up, they sincerely hoped that he could achieve his goal since his old classmate had said that his goal was to be in the top 4. Who would have thought that he would encounter a strong opponent who was ranked 5th at the beginning of the round of 16? It really made people worried about the result. His luck wasn't bad at all. I thought that the top 8 would be the beginning of the test. Qiu Hailin sighed. Qi Yunfei and the other girls unconsciously clenched their fists. In Lu Cheng's fan forum, Eternal Nightfall, Yan Shaoling tagged Unparalleled Dragon King and Okamoto's fan immediately. Quick, tell me what's so good about Qiolin. I've read her information and I'm confused. She was always calm and never pretended to be strong. Unparalleled Dragon King replied with a funny emoji. She's good. I think she can compete with Lu Cheng. Their characteristics overlap. Can you say it all in one breath? Yan Shaoling said with a furious emoji. I'm worried that your IQ is low. If I say too much, you won't understand. Unparalleled Dragon King was used to criticizing the moderator. He thought that this was the best thing about the little girl. She would not get angry no matter how they criticized her. Instead, she would cooperate with them to make the forum full of a cheerful atmosphere. However, sometimes she would become inexplicably irritable and delete friends. She was moody. That's true. Take your time. Yan Shaoling was not angry. She replied with a humph. Unparalleled Dragon King replied with a red face emoji. Lu Qing can complete 6 consecutive bursts. She can do the same. Why? Why? Her supernatural ability is not physical strength. Brahman also appeared. She was very puzzled. Unparalleled Dragon King quickly replied, it's a long story. Let me drink some hot sh** tea and tell you all about it. Qiu Lin was born in a martial arts family and had the supernatural ability to metalize part of her body. However, she didn't walk the path of a supernatural ability fighter. Instead, she devoted herself to practicing martial arts. At the age of 18, she obtained the certificate of professional 9th pin with the Vajra fist and lotus steps that were passed down in her family. She became a rising star in the martial arts world of Xing province. But she wasn't satisfied with that. She felt that the martial arts passed down in her family weren't perfect enough. So she took her ancestors' relics and went to Daxing Temple. As you all know, Daxing Temple is a temple of monks. How could they accept a female disciple? She went to the mountainside pavilion every day to ask for help, rain or shine. For a whole year, Abbot Fayuan of Daxing Temple showed her mercy and allowed her to enter the temple for 7 days to study the illustrations of the 3 physical invulnerability Kungfu, the lotus seal of Vajra realm, the 6-syllable Sanskrit mantra of womb realm. And then? Yan Shaoling urged as if she was listening to a story. This little sister's experience was quite interesting. And then? Qiu Lin learned something from the Vajra fist and improved her family's lotus steps. She also mastered the hum sound of the 6-syllable Sanskrit mantra. Once she recited it, she could squeeze out her body's potential, relieve fatigue, and temporarily stimulate her qi and blood to improve her strength. She used this to complete 5 consecutive bursts in the first half of the year. Sounds awesome. Brahman praised sincerely. But she could only make 5 consecutive bursts. She couldn't compare with my idol's 6 consecutive bursts. And my idol hadn't reached his limit yet. Good math. Okamoto's fan interrupted. Unparalleled Dragon King replied, knock on the blackboard. Focus on the key points. The hum sound, which squeezes out one's potential, can only be used once a day. Otherwise, you won't be able to fight in the following matches. Even if you only use it once, it will leave a residual fatigue and affect the following matches. Wait, how do you pronounce the hum sound? It sounds like a cow's cry. Don't you think it's embarrassing to make a cow's cry during a fight? Yan Shaoling asked after a moment of silence. Hong, 4 sounds. You're welcome. Okamoto's fan roared to the sky. Cheng. Hearing Wang Lily's raised voice, Lu Debong and Lu Jiqiang looked at the TV at the same time. They didn't understand what this had to do with Lu Cheng. At this time, the broadcast returned to the performance in the arena. They didn't notice anything. Mom, you saw it too? Lu Yanwei was happy to find an ally. He didn't see it wrong. Yes, I saw it. Why is Cheng on TV? And why is he sitting in the first few rows? Wang Lili knew that the first few rows in this kind of occasion were either rich or powerful. Since when was Lu Qing either rich or powerful? What are you talking about? Lu Debang asked with dignity as the head of the family. How could Qing be on TV? Lu Yanwei took a breath and said, Grandpa, wait. You'll definitely see it later. This world seemed to have undergone some extraordinary changes without him noticing. So what if you see it? What's so great about being on TV? Lu Jiqiang replied inexplicably. One of the manifestations of his bad mouth was that he seldom said good things about others. For example, when someone invited him to dinner, even if there were a few dishes that didn't suit his taste or were not good enough, the normal guests would not talk about it so as not to ruin the atmosphere. Lu Jiqiang was different. He would say it out loud and criticize it. He would also nitpick on the gifts given by others, saying that this was not good or that. After confirming his opponent, Lu Qing didn't pay attention to the rest of the draw and performance. He lowered his head and discussed the details of Qiu Lin with Yan Jika. Her previous opponents weren't strong. It seems that she hasn't done her best. In the end, Yan Jika deliberately reminded him, I heard from Gu Shuang that last month, Qiu Lin said in a private party that her goal was to reach the top 3 in this youth tournament. She must have some confidence to say so. Didn't I also say that my goal was to reach the top 4? Lu Qing complained and pretended to be pitiful. He took the opportunity to ask for benefits. This opponent is very strong. Coach Yan, I need more encouragement. For example, he could shout out the complete word darling. Wait and see. Yan Jika rolled her eyes and scolded Cheng in her mind. He was getting more and more insatiable. Ku actually agreed so easily? I'm a little nervous. Lu Qing looked at the words in surprise and felt a little nervous. Facing such a strong opponent, Ku wouldn't play a prank, would she? He didn't dare to ask for more details, fearing that Yan Jika would go back on her words. He could only suppress his doubts and turn his attention back to his opponent. In the first match, the number 1 seed, Zhang Zhutong, and the number 4 seed, Zhua Zhen, fought fiercely. It took 6.5 minutes for the winner to be decided. Zhang Zhutong gained the advantage and was the first to enter the top 8. This allowed Lu Qing, who was watching from the sidelines, to witness the power of his furnace force stacking up close. After the song and dance performance, the referee and the game's supervisor changed places to recover their strength. The game's supervisor walked to the center of the arena and raised his right hand. The second match of the top 16, Lu Qing vs Qiu Lin. It's really Cheng. In the living room of the Lu family, Lu Yanwei suddenly stood up. Lu Debang picked up his reading glasses in disbelief. Wang Lili and her husband looked at each other, feeling like they were in a dream. Lu Qing took a deep breath and stood up from his seat. He sent a message to his girlfriend. Coach Yan, I'm going to the arena. Your encouragement should have arrived by now, right? Yan Jika hummed in a low voice and pretended to be surprised. Cheng, I'm at the airport. Airport? Lu Qing was stunned at first, then he understood and burst with joy. You're coming back? This was what he had been looking forward to for days. I'll see you tomorrow. Yan Jika sent a shy smile. Are you satisfied with this encouragement? Yes. Satisfied. Lu Cheng's face lit up with joy. He breathed heavily and his heart was full of motivation. I can't lose this match. I can't welcome Coach Yan with failure. He put away his phone and strode along the glorious road. Under the focus of the cameras, he confidently and calmly stepped into the arena and handed his belongings to the former referee and the current match supervisor. Qiu Lin entered the arena at about the same time as him. She wore a light yellow martial arts suit with black stripes embroidered with the words, "So I have heard," embroidered on the front. The big screen also showed the words behind her. I'm the best in the world. These words were not domineering, but had a touch of Zen charm. She was half a head taller than Lu Cheng, with very short hair and neutral facial features. She looked handsome and valiant. After the referee announced the start of the dialogue, she smiled and said, "You're now the public enemy of the martial arts circle in Gaofeng." "What do you mean?" Lu Cheng was surprised. "What did I do to deserve this?" Chiu Lin smiled and said, "You've only studied martial arts in another province for a year and you've already beaten everyone else. Doesn't this show that our martial arts circle is too weak?" She was only 21 years old, but she was proficient in all kinds of catchphrases. "You think too much." Lu Cheng was a little amused. "There's no first place in literature, and no second place in martial arts. It's normal to have comparisons in martial arts." Chiu Lin smiled and said, "So, we all agree that we can't let you enter the finals. Otherwise, why do you think you'll meet me in the round of 16? Believe me, if you win today, your opponent tomorrow will be either Han Jifei or Zhang Zhutong." "No way. Is it true or not?" Lu Cheng was stunned and soon realized that he had been tricked by Chiu Lin. Is she trying to arouse my resentment? Shake my mind? Then use Buddhist Zen to restrain me? Lu Cheng took a deep breath and visualized the scene of freezing water into ice. He froze all kinds of distracting thoughts and made his mind as clear as a mirror. No matter whether it's true or not, no matter who tomorrow's opponent is, I have to do a good job in this match first. He stopped talking and closed his eyes to adjust the state of his body. The former match supervisor and current referee looked at the electronic clock and raised his right hand again. "Begin." Boom. There was a sudden explosion in the arena and a clap of thunder on the ground. Chiu Lin's martial arts suit swelled and she stepped in front of Lu Cheng. Lotus steps, Buddha voice accompanying steps. Lu Cheng was shocked. He didn't expect Chiu Lin to have mastered the Buddha voice accompanying steps, a family heirloom. It was normal to make a crisp sound by punching, lashing, and kicking the air. However, it was not the same for body movements. One had to cultivate to a certain extent before they could create a sonic boom due to the high-speed movements, clever changes in direction, and corresponding changes in the muscles and fascias as the force circulated. The Taoists called it setting up spirit and stepping on battle, while the Zen Buddhism called it accompanying Buddha's voice. Lotus steps, cloud and thunder accompanying steps. In the broadcast room of Xing Province Satellite TV, guest commentator Yu Hong praised. There were 8 sounds in Buddhism, namely Liberation Sound, Anusrava Sound, Lion's Roar Sound, Great Lion's Roar Sound, Wisdom Sound, Great Wisdom Sound, Cloud Thunder Sound, and Great Cloud Thunder Sound. Among them, the Great Cloud Thunder Sound was the embodiment of the gist of samsara. According to the Buddha voice, the sound was like thunder, which was the name of the Tempest Temple. The Great Wisdom Sound symbolized prajna, and the Great Lion's Roar Sound represented might, which belonged to the kung fu of physical invulnerability. As for the remaining 5 sounds, they varied according to the force and kung fu they practiced. Each had its own function. Due to Chiu Lin's low level, the Cloud Thunder sound was more of an external manifestation of her body movement. However, it could produce outward vibrations to effectively eliminate the influence of tremor punch and enhance her momentum, which indirectly enhanced the power of the Vajra fist. With one step, the distance between them was close. Lu Cheng could still hear the Cloud Thunder sound in his ears. He saw Chiu Lin approaching him, swinging her right arm and clenching her iron fist. Her sleeves fluttered as she swung her fist. Maybe it was because of the wind, the bulging muscles, or both. Vajra fist, Vajra swinging pestle. Lu Cheng's breathing seemed to have been affected by the strong wind created by lotus steps. At this critical moment, he took a step back, lowered his center of gravity, and used force concentration. He swung his arms out in between withdrawing and releasing, fiercely dashing forward. Thunder roar Zen, retreating shock. At the beginning, he used the outburst of the dance stage without hesitation. Bam! The cannonball exploded on the spot, creating a shockwave. Under Lu Cheng's full force attack, Chiu Lin, who had yet to use force concentration, was like a dandelion seed in the wind. Her feet floated backward. Lu Cheng's right fist hit the metal. It was so painful that he wanted to shake it a few times. However, under such circumstances, how could he let go of this opportunity? He took a deep breath and used force concentration again. He was ready to pounce forward and take advantage of the situation. At this moment, Qiu Lin stopped the slight vibration. Her body swayed like a lotus, and she started to move around with mysterious footwork. It seemed to be from left to right, but it seemed to be from right to left. Rumble. She changed her body shape, followed by clouds and thunder. The arena seemed to be immersed in dark clouds, and the sound of thunder kept echoing. Lu Cheng couldn't determine Qiu Lin's position. The condensed qi, blood, force, and spirit were about to erupt, but there was no target. This time, his double explosion seemed to have missed its target. This was Qiu Lin's strategy. She tricked Lu Cheng into using his dance stage outburst, and then took advantage of the moment when he took a breath to attack. I don't believe you can make 10 or 20 consecutive explosions. Boom! With the sound of clouds and thunder, Qiu Lin took the opportunity to flash to Lu Cheng's side. Yu Hong, the guest commentator in the TV studio, suddenly said in surprise. He saw that Lu Cheng was still standing there quietly. His body was empty, and his breath and spirit were still condensed. There was no change. This seemed normal, but in Yu Hong's eyes, it was very abnormal. The force concentration of a dance stage martial artist used the will as a fulcrum to condense the qi, blood, force, and spirit. Once they condensed into a fulcrum, there would be rejection before they could completely merge, and they would inevitably erupt uncontrollably. In other words, as long as the force concentration was completed, there would be an outburst of force in the next moment. There would be no delay, unless the martial artist had broken through the dance stage. That was why Qiu Lin tried to trick Lu Cheng into using lotus steps to break out the dance stage. However, Lu Cheng had been using force concentration for more than 1 second. What kind of talent was this? What kind of supernatural ability was this? Teacher Yu Hong frowned. Since Qiu Lin's position was changing and he couldn't lock onto her, Lu Cheng didn't rush out. He continued to maintain the state of force concentration, waiting for his opponent's next move. As for why he could maintain it, wasn't this normal? All this time, the Jin Dan in his body hadn't collapsed or disintegrated. The force concentration that imitated the Jin Dan could maintain its balance by rotating, unless he changed it himself. If it weren't for the fact that the other parts of his body couldn't withstand this state, he could maintain it until the end of time. Boom! Qiu Lin rushed to Lu Cheng's side from an incredible angle. A light flashed across her face, and her expression became solemn. Then she withdrew her qi and blood and used force concentration. Her muscles swelled and turned into a mighty vajra. She swung her left fist with a metallic luster from above. When she got close, she noticed Lu Cheng's strange state. But the arrow was on the string, so she had to shoot. I've been waiting for you. Lu Cheng let go of his thoughts. The qi and blood in his dantian gushed out, and his force surged like a tide. He swung his left shoulder and punched back with his right arm. Thunder roar zen, single hand shock. Bam! Another explosion sounded. Both of them shook. Their short hair was blown away by the wind, and they lost control of their feet. Finally, they stepped on the black bricks and broke them. Boom! Qiu Lin operated her force and footwork. She endured the effect of the shock and flashed behind Lu Cheng in a strange way. She used force concentration and punched with her right fist. Vajra strikes the bell. Double explosion. Almost at the same time as she punched, Lu Cheng took a big step forward. He withdrew his qi and blood, condensed them into a ball, and burst out with a loud bang. He leaned sideways and swept his right arm in a fierce arc toward Qiu Lin behind him. Thunder roar zen, horse shock. Bam! When the two collided, Qiu Lin's muscles wriggled, her fascia contracted, and her strength gathered. In an instant, she condensed Lu Cheng's remaining strength, her qi and blood, and the involuntary shock into a single point. This was a brilliant defense and borrowing technique. Vajra Fist, Wisdom King guards the temple, immovable as a mountain. She stood firmly in the same place, neither swaying nor moving. Lu Cheng's blow seemed to have no effect on her. At this moment, a point in Xiao Lin's dantian exploded. The surging and violent force almost expanded her body, making her blood vessels and tendons stand out and glow with a metallic luster. She, who almost occupied Lu Cheng's line of sight, took a step forward. She looked down and punched fiercely, causing a series of explosions. Vajra Fist, Vajra subdues demons. Facing this blow, Lu Cheng didn't dare to take it head-on. He bounced back and retreated quickly. Seeing this, Zhang Zhutong in the lounge sighed and said, "What a pity. What a pity. You can hide now, but you can't hide forever." Facing the combination of Vajra subdues demons and lotus steps, the only way out was to meet force with force. It seemed that he didn't have to worry about that guy's freakish physical strength. Due to the fact that the fights below the high-ranked Dan stage couldn't last long, for the sake of the broadcast, it was impossible to have 2 fights today and 1 tomorrow. Therefore, the semi-finals and the final would be held on the same night. At this moment, Qiu Lin's bones and tendons rang at the same time. She uttered a solemn and grand Zen sound from her mouth. The Zen sound reverberated in her body, making her face red and her qi and blood vigorous. She seemed to be stimulated by something. She was no longer weak and returned to her initial state. I can't give Lu Cheng any chance. Taking advantage of the momentum of punching forward, Qiu Lin made another burst of strength. Lotus flowers bloomed under her feet, closing the distance between her and Lu Cheng in 1 step. Lu Cheng couldn't dodge and didn't even have time to use force concentration. Her momentum was so strong and her posture was so fierce that even the ignorant audience could see who had the upper hand. At this moment, Lu Cheng suddenly stopped. He stomped his feet, swung his body backward, and threw out a punch. He didn't use force concentration, so this punch looked so weak. However, in his mind, a red sun was crashing down and crashing into the frozen river. He didn't retreat to escape, but to numb his enemy and boost her momentum in preparation for this fatal blow. Thunder Roar Zen, severe warning. Bam! The 2 fists collided. Lu Cheng flew backward like a kite with a broken string. If he hadn't done so, he wouldn't have been able to neutralize the terrifying strength of Vajra subdues demons and the dreadful metallized body. Otherwise, he would have suffered bone fractures or even broken bones. She won, Qiu Lin won. Many of the audience made a judgment. At this moment, as long as Lu Cheng caught up with Qiu Lin and gave her a final blow, victory would be within reach. However, Qiu Lin was stunned in the arena. Her face quickly turned pale, her lips turned purple, and her eyes seemed to be frozen, with little life in them. She seemed to have comprehended the meaning of Buddha at this moment and went on a mental journey. Lu Cheng landed on his feet and took 2 steps back to neutralize the force. Then, he gathered his force concentration and jumped back to Qiu Lin. He opened his right hand and grabbed her throat. At this moment, Qiu Lin felt that she had just woken up from a long period of ice. She hurriedly metallized her neck to resist the enemy's attack. However, Lu Cheng's attack was just a feint. He took advantage of Qiu Lin's slow absolute reaction because she hadn't fully recovered. He swung his center of gravity and flashed to the back of his opponent. He clapped his hands together and landed them on his opponent's temples. The referee was stunned. He raised his right hand and shouted, "Lu Cheng wins." The audience was silent. No one responded. Chapter 261. Lu Cheng wins. The referee's voice reverberated in the arena. Lu Cheng took a deep breath and withdrew his hands. This battle was much more difficult than he had expected. When he had drawn Qiu Lin, he had already prepared a plan for this match. Qiu Lin was good at Vajra Fist, could metallize part of her body, and liked to fight head-on after wearing down her opponent's spirit. She didn't know that he had mastered a simplified physical invulnerability move. With all these factors added up, it wasn't hard to see that the variant version of severe warning was suitable to deal with her. He didn't have to worry about missing or being dodged. Facing such a powerful opponent, he had never thought of holding back his ultimate move or not going all out. However, as soon as the battle began, Lu Qing found that things weren't as simple as he had imagined. Qiu Lin had made a breakthrough and demonstrated the state of lotus steps and Buddha's voice, which he had never achieved before. This meant that he had no time to prepare for severe warning. After more than 2 months of hard practice and the improvement of his own realm, he could perform severe warning faster and faster. However, it was a simplified move of physical invulnerability after all. He still needed to adjust the corresponding muscles, fascia, and viscera in advance, just like when he used Frost Force in the past. But Qiu Lin's accompanying cloud and thunder wouldn't leave him any time to react. Lu Qing had no choice but to show weakness step by step to boost Qiu Lin's momentum. After taking her triple explosion head-on, he accurately judged that she was going to use the swastika sound to squeeze out her potential. He seized the opportunity and decisively retreated, quickly preparing for the head-on clash. If Qiu Lin could complete the quadruple explosion herself, she wouldn't have to spend any time on the sound of the swastika. If she knew that he had a simplified version of physical invulnerability moves, she could use the lotus steps accompanied by the sound of Buddha to avoid a head-on collision. In that case, it would be hard to tell who would win. It could be said that Lu Qing had defeated Qiu Lin mostly because he had caught her off guard and a hidden ultimate move that she didn't know about. However, this advantage wasn't so effective once it was used. While thinking, Lu Qing looked at Qiu Lin, who had turned around. He cupped his hands and said, "Thanks for the match." Qiu Lin's face was still a little pale. She stammered and said, "What kind of ultimate move is that?" Until now, she still couldn't believe that she had lost. She couldn't believe that her mind was frozen just now. Lu Qing smiled and followed her example. Secret. After he finished speaking, he elegantly turned around, endured the fatigue in his mind, and walked down the ring. Triple explosion, followed by severe warning, was not something that could be easily dealt with. In the lounge, Zhang Zhutong suspected for a moment that he was watching a fake match. How could Qiu Lin, who had just gained the upper hand, lose so easily in such a short time? The camera panned across Qiu Lin's face, showing her soulless eyes and frostbitten lips. Zhang Zhutong was reminded of Lu Cheng's weak counterattack without using force concentration and Lu Cheng's initiative to back off. It wasn't that he was afraid and didn't dare to take the attack head-on, nor was it that he had forgotten to use force concentration in a panic. He was purposely taking the hit. That move was full of mystery. With Qiu Lin's strength and physique, as well as the vigorous qi and blood from the swastika sound, a simple ice sect force would never be able to make her stiff. A force concentration could solve the problem and seize the opportunity to win. This move is not simple. Zhang Zhutong's pupils shrank, feeling a little scared. If Qiu Lin hadn't stepped on the grenade and he had encountered Lu Qing in the top 16, he wouldn't have had a good ending either. Lu Qing had explosive power, killing power, control, and stamina. How could he fight against him? Those who could reach the Dan stage were all determined. Zhang Zhutong quickly suppressed his fear and began to think about Lu Cheng's performance just now. Why didn't he use it directly? Why did he take a few steps back? Did he need to prepare? Zhang Zhutong pondered and gradually came to a conclusion. He had found a way to deal with Lu Cheng's move. At this moment, the broadcast on the big screen switched back to the live broadcast room. The host asked the guest commentator in confusion, "Mr. Yu Hong, I don't understand the last collision." Lu Cheng was obviously at a disadvantage. Why did Qiu Lin stand there like a fool? Yu Hong pondered for a moment and said, "If I'm not wrong, this should be a simplified move of physical invulnerability related to Frost Force." A simplified move of physical invulnerability? The host gasped. A simplified move of physical invulnerability. Zhang Zhutong was shocked and raised his head. A simplified move of physical invulnerability? In the lounge next to Zhang Zhutong, Han Jifei was silent for a long time. Han Ning, who had taken advantage of her brother's power, looked at Xiong Yu and found that he was also in a daze. Xiong Yu suddenly remembered his previous match with Lu Cheng. At that time, he thought he had a chance to win. Now he thought it was ridiculous. A frog at the bottom of a well. Lu Cheng was like an iceberg in the sea. What he showed was only a small part of his strength. Every battle he fought with Lu Cheng refreshed his understanding of his strength. How terrifying was he? What would it be like if he fought with all his strength? She won? Qi Yunfei rubbed her eyes and couldn't believe what she saw. However, no one answered her question. Just a dozen seconds ago, Qiu Lin was majestic like a Vajra descending to earth. Most of the audience believed that she would win soon. But after a short fight, she lost without any resistance. It was a baffling loss. Qi Yunfei quickly came to her senses. Looking at brother Lu Qing on the stage, who was as calm as a breeze, and thinking of his strange blow that turned the situation around, she intuitively felt what it meant to be unfathomable, and what it meant to lift something heavy as if it were light. The worship in her heart turned into small stars that kept popping out. Aya, just a little bit more and I would have really become a brother complex. She looked around excitedly and found that Chen Xiaoxiao and the others had the same reaction as her. Brother Lu Cheng is awesome. In the quiet stadium, she shouted in a sharp and excited voice. Hearing Qi Yunfei's cheers, Mushi fell into an inexplicable silence. She recalled what her second brother had said to her during the spring festival. He said that he had more confidence, vision, and knowledge. When he looked back at the conflicts of interests at home, he would feel that they were trivial matters that he didn't need to care too much about. There was no need to fight for anything. She still didn't believe these words. But now, looking at her second brother, who made the whole stadium silent, looking at his confidence and suaveness in his every move, she suddenly felt that it was true. In the living room of the Lu family, there was also silence. When Lu Qing turned around and walked down the arena, Lu Yanwei blurted out and muttered to himself, "It's really Cheng? When did he become Superman?" If I didn't hear it wrong, this is the top 16 of the Provincial Youth Fighter Championship. That is to say, Cheng can be ranked in the top 16 of the province's young fighters. No, he is already in the top 8. With such strength, after graduating from college, he can be a deputy director or director of a city police station. In politics. In business, he can make a lot of money just by opening a martial arts club. There is no doubt that he is either rich or noble. Wang Lili and Lu Jiqiang subconsciously turned to look at Lu Yanwei. After being stunned, he took off his presbyopia glasses, wiped the corners of his eyes, and kept whispering, "Ancestor bless us, ancestor bless us, Qing brings glory to his ancestors." Ha ha ha, my idol is a man who is good at creating miracles. He has even mastered the simplified physical invulnerability moves. He really has the mysterious temperament of a hidden master. Brahman sent a series of red hearts. Eternal nightfall, Yan Shaoling said, spinning in circles. Expression, no, 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 I'm overflowing with my maiden heart. Get out of my way, I'm going to show off. She posted her admission notice. Because she was too excited, she forgot to mosaic her name. Oh, so your real name is Yan Shaoling. What a simple and honest name, Unparalleled Dragon King said, sounding like a compliment. Of course, it's different from those flirtatious bitches outside. Seeing that her real name was exposed, Yan Shaoling gave up and didn't care anymore. Anyway, it was not the first time she was careless like this. Focus. Focus on the focus. Wow, kid, you really got into Songqing University. Brahman replied in a different tone. Hey, when school starts, I'll be Lu Cheng's junior sister. I also want to sign up for the martial arts club. Yan Shaoling said excitedly. Biting her handkerchief enviously. Can you get an autograph for me? Brahman, what's our relationship? I'll definitely get a bunch of autographs for you. Yan Shaoling laughed proudly with her hands on her hips. Our relationship? Father and daughter. Brahman emphasized. At this time, Okamoto's fan interrupted with a smirk, Lingling, why do I feel that you're the kind of person who talks big? Don't be shy like a quail when you see Lu Cheng. Don't even dare to speak, let alone ask for an autograph. Nonsense. Yan Shaoling retorted fiercely, I don't even dare to go near him. In real life, I'm such a weakling, such a quail. Without waiting for others to reply, she continued angrily, you're such a fake driver. You just lied to me again. That sound was not 4, but 1. Hey, how did you find out? Okamoto's fan asked with a shocked expression. Yan Shaoling replied with an expression of, see this bouquet of flowers? I'd rather throw it on the ground than give it to you. I'm not deaf. Just now the grandpa commentator said, sound, several times. 'Cause men are so powerful. Gu Shuang was stunned by the scene, and then she praised them sincerely. Gu Shuang didn't know much about martial arts. She could only understand the surface of the first few battles. However, Qiu Lin was a famous young warrior in the martial arts world of Gao Fun. Gu Shuang had learned about her strength from various sources and knew how powerful she was. However, such a powerful fighter like Qiu Lin was defeated by Lu Cheng in just a few moves. This comparison made her realize for the first time the real strength of the stupid Cheng mentioned by Ku was. Beside her, Xing Jingjing took a deep breath with a slightly uncertain expression. Sister Jingjing, what kind of nickname do you think Lu Cheng will get? Gu Shuang's thoughts jumped to this topic. When it came to nicknames, Xing Jingjing couldn't help but gnash her teeth. She answered indifferently, I don't know, he finished all the battles in just a few moves. Will he be given the nickname Fast Gunner? Thinking of this, Gu Shuang laughed out loud. In the departure hall, Yan Jika heaved a sigh of relief, feeling her heart beating a little fast. She had carefully discussed with Lu Cheng how to fight Qiu Lin before the competition and knew that her boyfriend would seize the opportunity to use simplified physical invulnerability moves to solve the problem. However, there was still a big difference between talking on paper and actually fighting. In particular, no one expected that Qiu Lin had practiced her body movement to the realm of lotus steps and thunder accompanying clouds. Yan Jika couldn't help but feel anxious and nervous again. Now that the dust had settled, she sat down obediently with a smile on her face, waiting for Lu Cheng's call. He would definitely call as soon as possible. As soon as Lu Cheng walked out of the arena, he was stopped by the reporter Wu Wei. You look like you're in a hurry. Wu Wei handed him the microphone with a smile. Don't you want to be interviewed? No. After winning such an important match and defeating such a powerful opponent, the first thing I want to do is to share it with the most important people, family and friends. Lu Cheng's mouth was slightly curved, and his eyes were soft. He was in a good mood. Lu Jisheng, Qi Fang, and the others were watching the broadcast on the big screen, beaming with joy. When they were about to talk about something, they suddenly heard a girl nearby say, "Oh, he looks so cute. I'm a fan now." Chapter 262. Hearing Lu Cheng's answer, Wu Wei laughed. Actually, you don't have to be in such a hurry. Your family and friends, even if they aren't there, will watch the broadcast when they are free. Isn't it the same for you to share your joy with them here? It's not the same, it's not the same. There are many things that I can't say. Lu Cheng made a self-deprecating joke. Saying it out loud would make a lot of people feel sick. Wu Wei almost burst out laughing. She finally managed to stop herself. All right then. I won't ask you what you want to say to your family and friends. First question. As everyone knows, once you complete force concentration, it will immediately rebound and explode, unless you have made a great leap and stepped into the physical invulnerability stage. However, in the match just now, you seem to have maintained force concentration for 2 to 3 seconds. This is not in line with common sense. How did you do it? This question was emphasized several times in the live broadcast room. Lu Cheng was prepared for it. He laughed and said, Aren't ice and fire contradictory things? But my supernatural abilities of ice and fire exist at the same time and work in a balanced way. I can maintain force concentration with them as the foundation. As for the specific details, it's not something that can be explained in a few words, and it's also a personal martial arts secret. This was the explanation he gave Yenjika, but it was much more detailed, such as the unity of opposites and rotation balance. The balance of the supernatural abilities of ice and fire. In the live broadcast room of Xing Province Satellite TV, Yu Hong repeated it thoughtfully, dispelling most of his doubts. The balance of the supernatural abilities of ice and fire? Geezer snorted in front of the TV. It seemed that his bastard disciple had indeed incorporated Longhu Immortal's method of using ice and fire to imitate yin and yang to form Tai Chi into force concentration. That was an original idea. This brat really does have some ideas, so that's how it is. Wu Wei made an enlightened expression. Second question, was the last unique skill you used to stun Xiao Lin was a simplified move of physical invulnerability? There didn't seem to be any warning signs. That's because I haven't mastered it yet. Even if it's a simplified physical invulnerability move, it's still not something I can master and use in actual combat. I have no choice but to simplify it again according to my own situation. Focus on the main part and ignore the details. His own severe warning was a mutated version. Based on the principle of unity of opposites, the visualization diagram was blended with the effect of freezing. Simplified physical invulnerability moves? Wu Wei asked humorously. You could say that. Lu Qing didn't try to defend himself. He smiled warmly. It was rare for him to be confused. Third question, what did you say to Qiu Lin during the conversation? I see that you rarely interact with your opponents in the past. Did you learn the art of attacking the heart this time? Wu Wei asked again with a smile. We just chatted for a bit. I think the battle of martial arts is not about words. Lu Qing smiled gently. He didn't mention what Qiu Lin had said. Who knew if it was true or not? Anyway, he would meet the first 3 seeds sooner or later. Yes. Wu Wei saw that the arena had been cleaned up and there was going to be a star's song and dance performance, so she stopped talking. Lu Qing, thank you for your cooperation. You've already entered the top 8 and you're only 1 step away from the top 4. I wish you all the best. Thank you. Lu Qing smiled. Wu Wei quickly stopped Qiu Lin, who had just completely recovered. She handed the microphone to her curiously. Qiu Lin, what do you think of this match? Qiu Lin touched her cold face and smiled bitterly. I thought I would win before the referee announced the result. Who knew she would be knocked out in 1 move? How did you feel at that time? After being hit by that move? Wu Wei asked the question that was on the minds of many spectators. Qiu Lin thought for a while and answered half jokingly, half sincerely, how did I feel? I was frozen. Frozen? It was really a physical invulnerability move related to the ice sect. Wu Wei felt relieved. During the conversation, what did you talk about with Lu Qing? Qiu Lin's lips were extremely thin. I made up a story to scare him, but it didn't work. What was it? Wu Wei asked curiously. Qiu Lin thought of what had happened and gritted her teeth. It's a secret. Okay. Wu Wei put on a professional smile. Thank you for your cooperation. You actually did a great job today. Everyone thought that you were as cool as King Kong. I personally don't like this metaphor. Qiu Lin's mouth twitched. In the TV station, a leader slapped his thigh. Let's call it the 6 Vajras and 8 Immortals. 4, what's good about 4? After winning such an important match and defeating such a powerful opponent, the first thing you want to do is to share it with the most important person, family and friends. Yenjika was watching Lu Cheng's interview with headphones on. When she heard this, she turned her head and spat. Her heart became soft and calm. Dimples appeared on her face. Her eyes seemed to have become a rippling lake reflecting the starlight. When Lu Cheng finished the interview and returned to the exclusive lounge, She sat up straight and looked around. This was the VIP lounge of the first-class cabin. There weren't many people. She sat in a corner alone with a small round glass table in front of her. The sofa opposite her was empty. As soon as she put the tablet computer on the small round table, her phone began to vibrate violently with Cheng's unique ringtone. Yenjika's lips curled up. She unplugged her headphones, pressed her pink lips, and put the phone next to her head. Her voice unconsciously became soft. "Hello, Cheng." As expected, this idiot called at the first moment. Lu Cheng's heart trembled when he heard her soft voice. He stood up from the sofa and answered with a smile, "I almost lost just now." "I don't think so. Although it looked like a close call, I felt that it was always under your control." Yenjika said in surprise. Lu Cheng explained with a smile, "Chiu Lin was too confident. If she had played her Lotus Steps and Buddha's voice to the extreme, I would have felt awkward and uncomfortable. Unfortunately, I was illuminated by Coach Yan's moral brilliance. She didn't make the best choice and didn't make the best use of her strength." "Pfft. Are you trying to compliment me?" Yenjika's eyebrows curled up as she laughed. "Cheng even knows how to use tricks. This is the truth. When the reporter interviewed me and asked me to share my joy, I wanted to thank Coach Yan for her guidance and her efforts." Lu Cheng lowered his voice and laughed. "You're so mushy." Yenjika couldn't help laughing. She covered her mouth with one hand and laughed until her body trembled. Lu Cheng smiled and listened to the girl being amused by him. He echoed from time to time and waited for her to stop laughing. After more than 10 seconds, they both quieted down and listened to each other's breathing in silence. They seemed to feel each other's hearts. Between breaths, peace grew and emotions brewed. Finally, Lu Cheng said softly, "Ku, what time is your flight? What time will you arrive?" 10:05. "I'll be there soon." Yenjika was still immersed in the atmosphere just now. Her voice was very soft. "You'll arrive at 1 o'clock in the morning. It's not safe in the middle of the night." Lu Cheng said with concern. "Gu Shuang will drive to pick me up. Tomorrow is the quarterfinals. You have to sleep on time and have a normal schedule, okay? Humph, or I'll ignore you." Yenjika smiled with hidden joy in her eyes. Okay. I'll listen to Coach Yan and wait for you to visit me tomorrow." Lu Cheng replied with a smile. They chatted for a while. Yenjika suddenly remembered something. She pursed her lips and tried not to laugh. "Let's continue talking on QQ later. You should call your parents first. Someone just said that he wanted to share with his family and friends." Hee. That sentence was changed at the last minute and was just perfunctory. Does this count as forgetting his mother when he has a wife? Hey, what am I thinking about? You're right. Lu Cheng just remembered the previous conversation. After ending the call, he quickly called his mother. "Mom, I went back to the lounge to take a shower. I'm all sweaty." Lu Cheng explained with a guilty conscience. Qifeng didn't know what was going on in the exclusive lounge. Hearing this, she forgot about her doubts and said with a smile, "You should take a shower." "Cheng, are you hurt?" "Mom, that woman looked very fierce." I'm fine. There's a special physiotherapist here to help me relax." Lu Cheng added a question that his mother must be concerned about. "Mom, I'm in the quarterfinals now. I can get at least 100,000 yuan." I know. Have a good rest in there. Don't rush out." Qifeng smiled even more happily. Over the past few days, she had already learned about the bonus from Jiang Fei, Chao Lele, and the others. While Lu Cheng was on the phone, Yenjika logged into the BBS and refreshed the posts, feeling the excitement of her boyfriend's fans. She had mixed feelings about Eternal Nightfall, Yan Shaoling wanting to study at Songqing University and join the martial arts club. On the one hand, she was delighted and found it interesting because this junior sister was very cute. On the other hand, she felt a little weird when she thought about how much Yan Xiaoling admired Cheng and was also a member of the martial arts club. With a smile, she scrolled through the replies. When she was about to quit, she suddenly saw a new post. I'm a lip reader. Let me interpret the conversation between Lu Cheng and Xiao Lin. Oh, I forgot to ask. Yan Jika clicked in and found an ID called Bull Demon King. Xiao Lin said that you are now the public enemy of the martial arts circle in Gaofan. Yan Jika read one line after another. When she saw that Lu Cheng's next opponent was either Han Jifei or Zhang Zhutong, she frowned and felt a little angry. Is this true? Or is it fake? Did Xiao Lin deliberately make it up to provoke, or is it true? Thinking about it, Yan Jika clicked on the chat box in the small group and tagged Xing Jingjing first. Sister Jingjing, can you help me find a reliable lip reader? The police system often cooperated with similar experts. Why do you want this? Xing Jingjing asked curiously. To interpret the conversation between Cheng and Xiao Lin. Yan Jika didn't hide it. What's wrong with their conversation? Did Xiao Lin flirt with your boyfriend? Gu Shuang popped up. No. Yan Jika answered without hesitation. Shuang, do you know any reporters or public relations companies? After confirming that, I want to expose the inside story and make it more popular. In this way, no matter whether this matter is true or not in the martial arts circle in Gaofan, we have to avoid arousing suspicion. Gossip is a fearful thing. Chapter 263. After ending the call with his mom, Lu Qing walked into the bathroom to wash off his tiredness. Wiping his hair with a towel, he returned to the sofa leisurely. When he picked up his phone, he found that it was full of notifications. So many. Lu Qing opened them in surprise and read them one by one. Du Liu sent a thumbs-up emoji. Cheng, you're awesome. You're the only one I admire in our class. Work hard and get into the top 4. Xing Chenggu sent a message with his long hair. Huh, Lu, you did well to show off our Shushan's prestige. Work hard. Old Wu, his class teacher in high school, also sent a message. Lu Cheng, very good. I wish you a bright future in martial arts. Lu Yanwei sent an emoji with eyes wide open. Cheng, let's talk about it in detail when you come back. Grandpa wants me to tell you that you're the pride of our Lu family. Wu Ting sent an emoji of scattering flowers all over the sky. Sir Lu, you were so cool just now. You'll definitely get into the top 4. Zhang Chufan sent a smiley emoji. Sir Lu, you're awesome. Wei Renjie sent a concise message. Congratulations on getting into the top 8. All of them were congratulatory messages from his acquaintances. Lu Qing was stunned at first, but then he felt proud and happy. The primetime broadcast of Xing Province Satellite TV was really special. Old Wu, his class teacher in high school, loved martial arts and would pay attention to the youth tournament. It was not surprising that he recognized him. But he didn't expect that his cousins would see it too. I wonder if Empress Dowager and father-in-law saw it. What would they say about my performance? Lu Qing happily shared the news with Yan Jika. He took out the ointment and started to apply it on his wounds. It was not fun to fight with a metallized fist. It was much more difficult than standing still and waiting for him to hit a piece of iron. Yan Jika finished the last task and exhaled contentedly. I won't tell Qing about such a small thing. Otherwise, he'll always praise me. Just then, she heard the airport announcement that her flight would be delayed by an hour. Her heart skipped a beat. She logged into the app to check the details. Due to the weather, the flight could not land and had been redirected to the airport in the neighboring province. In other words, the flight would be delayed by more than an hour, and the flight might even be cancelled. I'm so angry. She muttered to herself in a low voice. However, she still had to maintain a smile as she chatted with Cheng. She couldn't let him notice or worry about her, which would affect his rest at night. Yenjika took a deep breath and was about to reply when she saw a new message from Lu Cheng. "Ku, your flight is delayed by an hour?" How did you know?" Yenjika asked in surprise and bewilderment. Lu Cheng smirked and said, "Jiangnan Feishing Province, 10:05 p.m. With these two pieces of information, if I still can't find out the flight number, wouldn't I be an idiot? The moment I found out, I downloaded that quasi-software, followed it, and asked for a reminder." Yenjika lowered her eyes and smiled. Her bad mood seemed to have dissipated a lot. She scolded him in a low voice, "Idiot, then you won't arrive until 2 in the morning? Won't you be waiting for a long time?" Lu Cheng asked with concern. "It's okay. It's normal for the flight to be delayed." Yenjika replied with a cute emoji of holding back tears. In the past, when the flight was delayed at night, she would rather cancel it and arrange accommodation. But this time, she didn't want to postpone it for another day. "I can't let Ku wait for nothing." With this thought in mind, Lu Cheng chatted with the girl until almost 11 p.m. Unfortunately, the flight was delayed again and wouldn't land until 12:30 p.m. "Why don't you ask your cousin to pick you up? Why don't you come back tomorrow?" Lu Cheng suggested. Even if he didn't have experience in flying, he could tell that his girlfriend wouldn't be able to fly until at least 1 p.m. Yenjika pursed her lips and replied with a blank emoji, "I've been waiting for so long. I can't give up halfway. If there's any more delay, I'll go back. If there's any more delay, I'll probably cancel the flight. This reminds me of a famous saying, since you're already here." Lu Cheng tried to lighten the mood to ease his girlfriend's mood. "Pfft. Don't say that. Because of this saying, since you're already here, I've suffered a lot." Yenjika pursed her lips and smiled. She suddenly felt that waiting wasn't so unbearable. Lu Cheng wanted to ask her what she had suffered, but considering the situation here, he decided to postpone it. "Can Gu Shuang still come to pick you up?" "I don't know. I don't know if she can fly. I told her to go to sleep first. I'll call her when I land." Yenjika had already made arrangements. Before Lu Cheng could continue the previous topic, she realized something and said with a frowning and angry emoji, "You're still awake. What time is it? Are we still going to compete tomorrow?" Lu Cheng's heart trembled when Coach Yen showed her power. He quickly explained, "I'm just worried that you'll be lonely waiting for me. And the competition is at night. You can catch up on sleep tomorrow afternoon. I'm not a kid anymore." Yenjika pursed her lips and replied with an embarrassed emoji. "You're not a kid, but you're a fairy." Lu Cheng smiled and typed quickly on the keyboard. Yenjika smiled and turned her head to the side. Then she replied, Okay, you go to sleep. I'm a little sleepy and need to take a nap. I'll send you a message when I board, but you're not allowed to reply. Sleep well." "Okay, good night. Be careful to keep warm." Lu Cheng reminded her. Ku said that the cold air in the airport was very strong. Lu Cheng put down his phone and quickly fell into a deep sleep. But he didn't sleep well because he was still worried about someone and was waiting for a reminder. Beep. He woke up immediately when the sound rang. He picked up his phone and found that it was a message from Yenjika after she boarded the plane. Finally. Clenching fist in tears expression, the girl said. The current time was 12:50 p.m. Lu Cheng smiled and replied with a patting head emoji. Go back to sleep. Glaring at him expression, Yenjika asked for a blanket with a gentle expression and a smile. Relieved, Lu Cheng slept more soundly this time, but he still didn't turn his phone to silent mode. After that, he woke up again and received a reminder from the software. Due to airport traffic control, the flight won't depart until 2 p.m. Yenjika didn't send a similar message because she was covered with a blanket and fell into a deep sleep half an hour ago. The flight will depart at 2 p.m. and land at around 5 p.m. Lu Cheng thought for a while and set the alarm at 4:50 p.m. Waking up half an hour earlier wouldn't make much of a difference. He could still catch up on sleep in the afternoon. At 4:50 p.m., the alarm rang. Lu Qing didn't need to struggle. He sat up and pressed the stop button. He picked up his phone and checked if there were any messages from Yenjika. After finding nothing, he opened the software and confirmed the landing time, 5:15 p.m. I can make it, right? Ku said that it would take more than 10 minutes to get out of the airport. Lu Qing quickly washed his face, rinsed his mouth, changed his clothes, took his wallet and rushed out of the room. At 5 o'clock a.m., Gaofen was quiet. Only the street lights were shining. The air was cold and refreshing without the hustle and bustle of the day. The road was empty except for the occasional speeding car. While looking for a taxi, Lu Qing thought of a famous saying. He chuckled and said to himself, I've finally seen what Gaofen looks like at 5 o'clock a.m. Under normal circumstances, there was no lack of taxis outside a good hotel. He didn't wait long before he found one. When he got in, he sent a message to Yenjika. I'm on my way to the airport. I'll pick you up. Don't call Gu Shuang. Don't disturb her sleep. There was no traffic jam. Lu Qing leaned back on the seat and closed his eyes to rest. At 5:20 p.m., the software's reminder and Yenjika's message arrived one after another. Didn't I tell you to sleep well? Yenjika sent an angry emoji. I just woke up half an hour earlier. It doesn't make much of a difference. Besides, I'll catch up on sleep in the afternoon. Lu Qing typed happily. I'm going to see Ku soon. Humph. Since you're already here, what else can I do? Yenjika sent an emoji to reply. But when she typed the words, since you're already here, she suddenly smiled and felt inexplicably sweet in her heart. I don't mean what I say, the traffic at night was very fast. Lu Qing waited for 2 or 3 minutes in the arrival hall before he saw the fairy he had been thinking about day and night dragging her luggage out. She was dressed very simply in a white t-shirt, jeans, sneakers, and a knitted sweater. Her eyes were bright and her facial features were delicate as usual. Lu Qing stared blankly for a few seconds. Then he walked over and took the suitcase. Holding the girl's slightly cold hand, he pulled her out like an old married couple. Unfortunately, there were too many people here. Yenjika lowered her head and let her hair down. Her face was red as she quietly followed behind Lu Qing. After a few steps, Lu Qing chuckled and said, I feel like I'm taking my wife home. Bah. Shameless. Big hooligan. Yenjika turned her head and looked to the side. She scolded him in a low voice, but her eyes were full of shyness and happiness. Why don't you rest at my place for a while? We can go there after Gu Shuang has enough sleep. Lu Qing suggested. Yenjika lowered her eyes and said. Then I'll send her a message so she can sleep peacefully. Seeing the girl agree so easily, Lu Qing felt that she trusted him. While his heart was warm, he teased her. You trust me so much? Aren't you afraid that I'll do something bad? Yenjika glanced at him. Humph. You have to do morning exercises and compete. How can you have the mood and ability to do bad things? I'm not afraid. I'm a person with abnormal physical strength. Lu Qing joked in a low voice. Yenjika suddenly blinked her eyes and put on a pitiful look. I'm so pitiful and sleepy. You still want to bully me? She was getting more and more relaxed in front of her boyfriend. Lu Qing couldn't resist her cuteness. He quickly said, Okay. I won't do bad things. Hee hee. Yenjika laughed in a low voice. She was very proud. They got in the car. It felt like they hadn't talked much before time flew by. Their destination was close at hand. Lu Qing held the girl's hand and dragged the luggage into the elevator. They came to his room. Not bad. Yenjika opened the door and looked around. Lu Qing closed the door and didn't care about the luggage. He stepped in front of the girl and hugged her tightly. Smelling her familiar fragrance, he whispered in her ear, Ku, I miss you. Yenjika's body was stiff at first, but after hearing Lu Cheng's words, she softened and quietly hugged her boyfriend's back. They kissed fiercely, venting their longing for each other after not seeing each other for a long time. The girl stepped back step by step and unconsciously leaned against the bed. Lu Qing pulled his head up with great patience. Looking at the girl's flushed face and intoxicated eyes, he almost kissed her again. You still have the competition." Yenjika avoided his eyes and said shyly, panting slightly. "I know." Lu Qing almost howled to the sky. "I'm going to wash my face with cold water." "Go, I'll go with you for the morning exercise later." Yenjika smiled and rolled her eyes. Lu Qing rushed into the bathroom and stayed there for a few minutes. He wiped his face and walked out. But he saw Yenjika lying on the bed, breathing deeply. She had fallen asleep. She fell asleep in just a few minutes. It seemed that she was really tired. Lu Qing didn't have any other thoughts. He squatted down and held the girl's ankle. He listened to her breathing and carefully helped her take off her shoes so that she wouldn't be woken up by the wrong movement. When the two shoes fell to the ground, Lu Qing followed the rules and helped her take off her sweater. Then he rolled the quilt and covered her body. After doing all this, he looked at Yenjika's beautiful and quiet sleeping face. He smiled, bent down, and kissed her pink lips. He whispered, "Good morning, little fairy." When he raised his head, the rising sun shone in a few rays of light, dyeing the bed with a little light, setting off the girl in her sleep, picturesque, peaceful, and beautiful. Seeing this, Lu Cheng's heart suddenly calmed down. This was the meaning of protection. He closed his eyes and recalled the various things that had happened recently. Naturally, he made an attempt to withdraw. Qi and blood were withdrawn, strength was retained, and spirit was wrapped. When they rotated and collapsed to a certain extent, they naturally intertwined. Lu Qing suddenly felt a sense of perfection and perfection. Everything around him was reflected in his heart. When the conditions are right, success will come naturally. Chapter 264. At this moment, Lu Qing felt that his body was blood, blood was qi, qi was power, and power was spirit. His whole body was smooth and transparent, reflecting his surroundings. The girl's soft and thin breathing entered his ears and seemed to be connected with his pulse. Rays of light swayed from his heart and shone together with the morning light outside the window. The human body Big Dan, round and bright. Following a strange feeling, Lu Qing closed his eyes, held his breath, dropped his ears, and cut off his senses. However, in his heart, in his mind, little by little, he outlined the scene of the outside world. The dark brown carpet, the curtains that were not closed, the white quilt rolled up on the big bed, the sleeping girl with her legs curled up on her side, the suspicious crystal at the corner of her mouth, the birds flying by outside, the old man jogging, the bright sunshine. This picture was not static, but was developing and changing as if it was real. For example, an ant crawled to the window and tried to come in, but couldn't penetrate the smooth glass. The wonderful feeling quickly faded away. Lu Qing opened his eyes and dispersed the state of forced concentration. He looked at the window and was surprised to see the ant crawling under the sun. The ant didn't appear just now. What's going on? Lu Qing was inexplicably surprised. He wanted to try again, but couldn't grasp the wonderful feeling from before. Was it the initial fusion of force, qi, blood, and spirit during the body Big Dan that triggered the gene Dan and brought out its characteristics similar to the ice mirror? Or was it a little mixed in? Lu Qing thought about it and planned to explore it bit by bit during his daily training. He moved his body and felt the changes of stepping into the Dan stage. To be honest, since breaking through was a process and not a node, he had already improved most of what he needed to improve. Currently, he didn't have any fundamental improvement. It was only because of the initial fusion of his spirit, force, and qi and blood that his force concentration became smoother and more natural. The explosive power had also increased a little. Although it was strange to use the phrase, like an arm moving a finger, to describe it, it was indeed a good way to express the subtle feeling of exerting force and controlling one's body. From this point of view, he was qualified to get the certificate of professional 7th pin after being able to explode several times, master the frost force, and have a simplified version of physical invulnerability moves. Of course, there was still a gap in the foundation between him and the real 7th pin or even the experienced 8th pin. From the Dan stage onwards, he would cultivate the subtle structure of the body, improve the body from the essence, break the limits of the human body, and increase the overall strength, speed, and so on. This was also one of the 2 keys in the future, the connecting heaven and earth, and the internal root pulp training. According to some half-true and half-false information circulating on the internet, the ultimate of the internal root pulp training was that one's willpower and spirit could influence the genes. Combined with visualization, core force training, and the feedback of nature, they would gradually mutate. Therefore, the offspring of the high-ranked Dan stage and the real mighty ones of physical invulnerability would have a situation where they were born with supernatural abilities. And the masters who had reached the same level would really experience Qigong deviation, which was symbolized by the collapse of the genes. Phew, with another half a year to improve my physique, I'll be able to reach professional 7th pin. Lu Qing thought happily. He stepped to the window and pulled the curtain and the shade cloth to block out the sunlight, making the room dark and suitable for sleeping. He looked back at Yan Zhika's quiet and beautiful side profile and whispered with a smile, "Coach Yan, I'm going to the morning exercise." He left the room quietly, closed the door softly, and went to the nearby park to consolidate the realm of Dan Qi. After breaking through this threshold, he would really have a firm foothold in the martial arts world and be able to bear the initial responsibility for Ku's future. Not needing to waste time, Lu Qing saved a lot of time and put more energy into adapting to this realm. In the past, his martial arts were mainly based on the fighting style of the body refining state. Although it didn't mean that he couldn't use these basic moves when he reached the Dan stage, he had to integrate them with the characteristics of his current realm and not copy them completely. And the fight with Qiu Lin, a mighty ones of the Dan stage, had taught him a lot. Especially the move Wisdom King guards the temple, it had given him his own ideas and direction to try. Lu Cheng's muscles swelled to create friction, cancelling out the explosive sounds of punches and kicks. Lu Qing began to practice the moves. The more he practiced, the more silent they became. Turbulence was hidden in the calm waves. In the sunny restaurant, Yu Hong sat in the parent's seat, squinted his eyes and smiled. The sun rises so early in summer, and so does the heat. He picked up a stack of newspapers and casually flipped through them, waiting for his wife to give him breakfast. Now only a stubborn old man like you is reading newspapers. Everyone has learned to surf the internet. His wife came out of the kitchen with a plate and nagged. I'm used to it. Yu Hong took the plate with a smile. After eating in silence for a while, his eldest grandson, who came to visit during the summer vacation, suddenly said, Grandpa, look at this news and these Weibo posts." "What news?" Yu Hong took the phone, puzzled. He squinted and was shocked by the title. Shady. The Youth Competition Organizing Committee of Xing Province deliberately suppresses geniuses. Swiping his finger, Yu Hong quickly read the rest. At the end, he couldn't help but curse, ridiculous. Do reporters nowadays have any professional ethics? How can this kind of thing be published in the news? How can you take what they say seriously? His eldest grandson looked at him in fear and whispered, "But there's a lot of noise on the internet." "Noise?" "Let me see," Yu Hong said with a sullen face. As the content came into view, he gradually frowned. There were two groups of people arguing on the internet. One group was to his liking, thinking that what they say during the chat should not be taken seriously, and that it was a psychological attack. The other group believed that there was a reason for this. In the martial arts world, the fight for face, so it wasn't surprising that there would be such suppression. As the argument went on, it became more and more popular. Not only did the people who were paying attention to the youth tournament join in, but even some people who had nothing to do rolled up their sleeves and chose sides to argue. After reading for a long time, Yu Hong felt that he couldn't go on like this. He picked up his phone and called the chairman of the Provincial Martial Arts Association. The number of high-ranked dance stage fighters in the province could be counted on one hand. How could they not know each other? Old Ian, have you seen the news? The one about shady business? Yu Hong went straight to the point. Ian Huoming smiled bitterly. Yes, I saw it. When I first heard that there was a lip-reading expert, I didn't take it seriously. It's only been one night. How did it become so big? Sigh, some reporters just want to make a big news, make a name for themselves, and criticize everyone. That little girl Chiu Lin is too much. Of all things, she just has to scare people in this aspect. Also, although my friends on the internet are enthusiastic, they don't necessarily care about this kind of news. If they don't care, it will fade away. Not many people will take it seriously. He poured out his grievances. We old guys don't know what's going on the internet. Who knows what's going on? What are you going to do? Yu Hong comforted him. Hold a press conference. Ask Chiu Lin to come and clarify. Tell her some common sense about the chat time, and then deal with it coldly. Ian Huoming sighed. Yu Hong thought for a moment and asked in a low voice, what if Lu Qing really picked Han Jifei or Zhang Zhutong tonight? Ian Huoming was silent for a moment and answered, then it's like yellow mud falling into your pants. Even if it's not sh*t, it's sh*t, he probably wouldn't be able to clear his name even if he jumped into the Yellow River. Before Yu Hong could say anything, he said to himself, there are two ways. First, ask the reporter who exposed the news to draw lots and let her draw whatever result she wants. Second, just to be safe, don't let Lu Qing pick Han Jifei or Zhang Zhutong. At 8:30, Lu Qing, who was beginning to feel tired, put away his frame, bought breakfast, and returned to the hotel. This time, he gained a lot from the training. The sun was shining outside the window, and the room was dim and fragrant. Seeing that Yan Jika was still sleeping, he gently put down the breakfast, found a change of clothes and other things, and turned to go out. Hey, Qin Rui, are you up? He called his old classmate without hesitation. I'm up. We've finished our morning exercise. Do you want to have breakfast together? The breakfast in this hotel is pretty good. Qin Rui answered with a smile. Lu Qing laughed. I've already eaten. I want to take a bath in your room. What's wrong? Is the bathroom in your room broken? Qin Rui asked in surprise. Lu Qing took a breath. It's a long story. Don't ask. He couldn't say that Yan Jika was sleeping on his bed, and he didn't dare to take a bath in his own room for fear of waking her up. What would others think if he said that? Okay. Qin Rui was puzzled, but he still agreed. After taking a bath, Lu Qing returned to the room. Sitting on the bed and looking at the girl's pure and flawless face, he suddenly felt that he needed to catch up on sleep. He took off his pants, pulled the quilt, carefully got on the bed, and moved to the side of his little fairy. Yan Jika unfolded her arms and touched his body. Feeling his warmth, she woke up with a start. She opened her misty eyes and stammered with a confused look, "You're so cute." What's going on? I'm here to catch up on sleep. Lu Qing supported his body with his left hand and laughed. Catch up on sleep. Yan Jika looked out of the window blankly. What time is it? It's almost 9 o'clock. I finished my morning exercise and brought you breakfast. Lu Qing laughed. But you're so easy to wake up. I've been so gentle. It would be strange if I didn't wake up when there was suddenly someone beside me. Yan Jika rolled her eyes at him and gradually recalled what had happened before. She groaned, "You didn't wake me up. We agreed to do morning exercise together. I saw you sleeping so soundly. How could I bear to do that?" Lu Qing slowly moved closer to his little fairy and touched her skin. Yan Jika pouted playfully. I just felt a little sleepy and wanted to take a nap to recover my energy so that it wouldn't affect my morning exercise. Anyway, you could wake me up with you beside me. But in the end, humph. After the torment of waiting in the middle of the night, the kiss with Ching made her completely relieved. She relaxed and felt sleepy. When Lu Ching tried to hug her, she suddenly lifted the quilt and got off the bed from the other side. Where are you going?" Lu Ching asked with disappointment. Yenjika didn't turn around. She pursed her lips and said unhappily, "To change into pajamas." "Okay, I'll wait for you," Lu Ching responded happily, deliberately imitating his little fairy's tone. "Pfft. You're getting more and more funny." Yenjika was squatting beside the trolley box, laughing so hard that she almost couldn't stand up. The blush on her face when she said, "to change into pajamas," dissipated a lot. She brushed her teeth and changed into a half-sleeved nightgown. She closed her eyes, gathered her courage, and crawled back into bed. Then she put her feet on Lu Cheng's thighs and laughed in a low voice. Hairy legs. The familiar body temperature, smell, and feeling made her feel dizzy. She recalled the half-naked photo that Lu Ching posted and couldn't help but chuckle. "What are you laughing at?" Lu Ching felt the girl's skin. "Nothing, just a smile." Yenjika half turned her body and curiously put her hand on Lu Cheng's abdomen. The two touched closely. The light in the room was dim and a faint fragrance floated to Lu Cheng's nose. Lu Ching immediately breathed heavily, his heart beat fast, and his body excited. Yenjika was also a good martial artist with listening skill. She immediately felt it. She blushed and patted Lu Ching lightly. "Sleep well. What are you thinking about?" "It's hard for me not to have any reaction when you're like this," Lu Ching said helplessly. "Then I'll sleep well too." Yenjika quickly adjusted her body and lay down obediently, secretly laughing. "Sleep, sleep." Lu Ching turned around and hugged her, forcing himself to freeze water into ice. Throughout the day, Yenjika went to report to Gu Xuan's place and made up for her training. Lu Ching also accompanied his family and friends for dinner. In the evening, after studying the situation of each opponent again, Lu Ching took a deep breath and stood up. "I should go to the stadium." Yenjika stood up and helped him tidy up his collar with a gentle look. She stood on tiptoe and kissed him on the lips. Her face was flushed and she said, "Good luck." Chapter 265. It was a summer evening and the clouds were burning. There was no sign of dimming yet. Lu Ching walked in the twilight in a good mood. He was slowly building up his fighting spirit from the warmth of staying in his room all day. He was only one step away from the top 4. At that time, he could also tell his master the good news. When he entered the stadium and came to the exclusive lounge, he saw Fang Siki, the staff member who was in charge of serving the seated fighters. "Hello." The white-collared beauty bowed with a standard 8-tooth smile. "Hello." Lu Ching nodded and greeted her. He felt a little strange. In the past 2 days, Fang Siki and he were somewhat familiar with each other. She would always find topics to chat with him outside of politeness to make him feel at home. But now, she was obviously alienating him. Lu Ching shook his head and didn't think too much about the change in her attitude. He walked to his room. Suddenly, after stepping into the dance stage, he sensed that Fang Siki was sizing him up with a strange look in her eyes. "What's wrong?" Lu Ching asked calmly. He didn't hide his confusion. "Nothing." Fang Siki lowered her gaze at first, then asked curiously, "Mr. Lu, you didn't you see the news?" "What news?" Lu Ching asked in surprise. Was there any news that I should pay attention to? After last night's competition, he had browsed the forums and news to enjoy the praise in the reports and the happiness of his fans. But he didn't find anything that could make Fang Siki act strangely. As for today, he had hugged his little fairy to catch up on sleep. Then he focused on studying more battle videos of the remaining 7 opponents. Finally, he had a close conversation with Yenjika. He had been living a good life. How could he have the time to pay attention to outdated news? There were 2 most valuable parts of news related to martial arts competitions. The first was when the competition had just ended. There would be news from various angles. The winner would be showered with compliments, while the loser would need to be mentally prepared. The second was the in-depth report that would be released every few hours. This was more technical. Every punch and kick during the fight would be analyzed under a magnifying glass. This was Lu Cheng's favorite content. It could help him to summarize after the competition and find his own problems that were difficult to find. The next day, most of the similar news articles were rehashed. Lu Cheng would only focus on them when he was free. You don't know? Fang Siki raised her head and looked into Lu Cheng's eyes. She felt his eyes were deep and dark. It's not a big deal. I'm going to do something else. She stomped away in her high heels, leaving Lu Cheng at a loss. What news? With this question in mind, Lu Cheng stepped into his own lounge. He took out his phone, logged into the website, and started searching. What he saw gave him a fright. His fan forum was a mess. A bunch of people were quarreling there, making Eternal Nightfall and a Brahmin so angry that they stomped their feet. After browsing for a while, Lu Cheng figured out what had happened. A lip-reading expert had interpreted Qiu Lin's words. Then it was accidentally seen by a reporter and exposed. It raised a storm of doubts about the youth tournament organizing committee. As one of the protagonists, Lu Cheng was also mentioned. Some people sympathized with him, wanted to cheer for him, and supported him firmly. On the other hand, some people suspected that he was the culprit. They deliberately hyped up the news and pretended to be weak. They didn't hesitate to smear the organizing committee and the Gaof and martial arts world to avoid a strong enemy. I got shot even though I didn't do anything. No wonder Fang Siki looked at me like that. Lu Cheng suddenly realized. He didn't know whether to laugh or cry. Fang Siki was a staff member of the Martial Arts Association and the Youth Tournament Organizing Committee. He saw the post about the lip-reading expert, Bull Demon King. But he didn't care about it. He thought it was just a small dispute in his own forum and wouldn't spread. His mood wasn't affected much because there were tall people to hold the sky up. The focus of the dispute was undoubtedly the Youth Tournament Organizing Committee. He didn't receive as much attention as the reporter who was criticized for his lack of professional ethics. I don't want to think about it. I'll take whoever I get. Lu Cheng closed his eyes and adjusted his mind. Anyway, I never thought about avoiding Zhang Zhutong and Han Jifei. I was ready to fight them. At 7:20, Fang Siki knocked on the door of Lu Cheng's lounge and told him he could enter. He was sitting in the first seat on the left of the second row of the guest seats. Lu Cheng patted his martial arts suit, stood up, and walked to the exit. Here, he met Zhang Zhutong, Han Jifei, and Lu Xuanjun. These martial artists kept a distance from him quietly, as if they wanted to avoid arousing suspicion. They were the mainstays of the Gaof and martial arts world. Do you think he did it himself? Did he use tricks to guarantee the top four? Zhang Zhutong put his hands in his pockets and asked leisurely. It was unclear whether he was talking to Han Jifei on his left or Lu Xuanjun on his right. He didn't lower his voice, as if he wasn't afraid that Lu Cheng would hear him. Or rather, he deliberately let Lu Cheng hear him. Maybe the ultimate beneficiary is the most suspicious. Lu Xuanjun said concisely. Zhang Zhutong chuckled. Maybe he was scared by Qiu Lin's words and didn't want to fight me in the quarterfinals. That's why he found someone to make a big deal out of it so that he can take advantage of his freakish physical strength. After witnessing Lu Cheng defeat Qiu Lin, he regarded Lu Cheng as the opponent second only to Han Jifei in this competition. So, from now on, it was time to start a spiritual battle. You're better at telling stories than Anderson. Lu Cheng complained but didn't respond. He would lose if he took it too seriously. It would easily affect his state of mind in this competition. He took a breath and visualized the scene of water turning into ice. At this moment, Han Jifei said in a low voice, "It's not necessarily him. He's not the only one who benefited." "Who else?" Lu Xuanjun frowned in confusion. the organizing committee and the TV station. Han Jifei looked around and said, "Don't you think the competition has attracted a lot of attention with such revelations and quarrels?" Those who didn't watch the youth tournament and only glanced at the news, as well as some netizens from other provinces, were attracted to watch the broadcast. In this impetuous era, it was good to have attention, whether it was praise or criticism. Lu Xuanjin sighed and didn't say anything else. He was convinced by Han Jifei. This kind of hype was a specialty of the entertainment circle. Some movies and TV series would quarrel again and again before they were broadcast. For the organizing committee, as long as they showed fairness in the end, they could use this quarrel to attract more attention. How could it not be a good thing? For the TV station, it could improve the ratings and reach more people without hurting their reputation. How could it not be a good thing? Zhang Zhutong nodded thoughtfully and said with a smile, "It seems that I misunderstood." He said it casually as if the previous accusation had never happened. When Yan Zhika arrived at the competition venue, the guests had already taken their seats. She followed the prompts and found her seat. She found Gu Shuang and Xing Jingjing. "Is there any problem over there?" Yan Zhika asked cautiously. Gu Shuang smiled and said, "There won't be any problem. It has nothing to do with us." Then, she sent the rest of the message to be on the safe side. If the organizing committee wants to investigate, they will only find the TV station. They also want to make a hot topic. Under Yan Zhika's suggestion, she didn't come forward directly. Instead, she asked her friends to contact the TV station's people and then found a public relations company that had a good relationship with the TV station. "Then I'm relieved." Yan Zhika sighed with relief. She couldn't let this affect Cheng's image. While they were talking in low voices, many people were attracted by the beautiful Yan Zhika, including Chao Lele and Qiu Hailin in the back row. Look, isn't that Yan Zhika from the 3rd class?" Chao Lele pulled her teacher's sleeve. Qiu Hailin looked over and saw Yan Zhika in a chiffon blouse with her hair in a half bun. She looked so beautiful in the noisy environment that Qiu Hailin, as a girl, was a little absent-minded. "It's her. She also came to watch the game, Yan Zhika." Hearing their words, Jiang Fei and Qing Qili, who knew about their secret relationship, turned their heads in surprise. They followed the direction of their eyes and saw the girl who was more and more beautiful. This was the first time they saw Yan Zhika after more than a year. They only felt that she was more beautiful than the goddess in their memories. She had more confidence and temperament than she did in high school. Especially when her eyes moved, they were really dazzling. Being looked at like this, Yan Zhika, who had achieved a small success in meditation, had a subtle feeling. She looked over subconsciously and saw a few strange but familiar men and women. Fatty Jiang. She recognized Jiang Fei first because Qing showed her the group photo in his mobile phone. With this, she immediately understood that they were Lu Cheng's relatives and friends. The one with half-frame black-rimmed glasses and pimples should be Qing Qili, old Cheng. The guy with a drunken face should be Tao Xiaofei, the one with a head showing was the class leader of the 4th class, Qiu Hailin. The delicate girl was Cheng's old deskmate, Chao Lele. Well, the uncle with the gold-rimmed glasses, wasn't he Cheng's father? And the aunt next to him was Cheng's mother? For some reason, Yan Zhika felt inexplicably shy. She blushed and shyly greeted Jiang Fei and the others. "Fatty Jiang knows my relationship with Cheng. I can't be impolite in front of uncle and aunt." After greeting them, she immediately turned around and sat down. Covering her burning face, she complained to Gu Shuang, "Why did you choose this place? What happened here?" Gu Shuang was confused. Cheng's parents are sitting behind us," Yan Zhika whispered. Gu Shuang was stunned at first, then laughed out loud. What a coincidence. An ugly daughter-in-law has to meet her parents-in-law. Bah. Yan Zhika was shy and embarrassed. Yan Zhika knows us? Why did she greet us? Tao Xiaofei asked in surprise. Chao Lele was also confused. Maybe she knows me. Chiu Hailin said with uncertainty. As the class leader of the fourth class, she had met Yen Jika several times. Jiang Fei closed his mouth tightly, afraid that he would accidentally reveal something. The miserable state of the iron chain was still vivid in his mind. Sister Lele, is that your classmate? She's so beautiful. She's much prettier than the internet celebrity. Qi Yunfei and Chen Xiaoxiao also noticed Yen Jika waving her hand. Qi Fang smiled and said, "That girl is very pretty. That's your daughter-in-law." Jiang Fei secretly complained. Sitting in his seat, Lu Qing didn't care about other people's gazes. He smiled and watched Yen Jika tell the story of her parents behind her. Does this count as meeting the parents? He smiled and typed on the keyboard. At this moment, the guest drew the first contestant. Number 18, Lu Cheng. Lu Qing raised his head and looked at the arena. Yan Shaoling and the others also focused their eyes. They swore that if the result was wrong, they would start to slander the committee. The guest drew Lu Cheng's opponent. Number 6 seed, Meng Jiefeng. Chapter 266. Number 6 seed. Qi Fang's eyebrows relaxed, as if a huge stone had been lifted from her heart. In her simple opinion, since her son had defeated the number 5 seed, how could the number 6 seed be a problem? Oh, I prayed to the Bodhisattva today. It worked. She patted Lu Jisheng beside her with a smile. There was no competition during the day, so the group of relatives and friends turned into a tourist group in Gaofen. Superstition, Lu Jisheng muttered, but he could not hide the smile on his face. Chao Lele, Chiu Hailin, and the others had similar thoughts. They felt that the draw was not bad, and this opponent should not be as good as Chiu Lin. They were in a good mood, eagerly looking forward to the start of the competition. Only Jiang Fei felt as if there was a fishbone stuck in his throat. He wanted to help Qing show off that Yen Jika was his girlfriend. Why can't you be more honest? For the sake of friendship, I've suffered too much. Number 6 seed, Meng Jiefeng. Yen Jika puffed up her cheeks. She felt that this opponent was neither good nor bad. She could only say that he was better than Han Jifei or Zhang Zhutong. Ku, your man is so lucky. He's the number 6 seed. Meng Jiefeng must be weaker than Chiu Lin, right? Gu Shuang said excitedly, but her tone gradually became unsure, because Yen Jika and Xing Jingjing's eyes seemed to be saying, "You look like a retard." Xing Jingjing answered concisely, "Not much weaker. His fighting style is more dangerous." Sister Jingjing, he has made a lot of progress in the past 6 months? Yen Jika asked with concern. The reason why she asked Xing Jingjing was that Meng Jiefeng was a rising star in the Gaofen police system. He was an 8th pin expert. Usually, except for the martial arts competition in the system, he rarely participated in various kinds of challenge tournaments. Fighting videos were quite difficult to find. Moreover, since this year's spring festival, he had not fought in public until this year's youth tournament. Xing Jingjing thought for a while and answered, "Yes, I heard that. His fighting style is more dangerous." She emphasized the word sinister again. After Meng Jiefeng graduated from the martial arts school, he joined the army first. He made a great contribution and was rewarded with the Cold Wind Force from the incomplete chapter of the Plague Sect. When fighting against him, the enemy would often become weaker and weaker. Furthermore, if they were not careful, even if they won, their bodies would be weakened afterwards, and they would catch a cold or have a fever. People gave them the nickname of influenza virus. Other than the Cold Wind Force, no one knew if there were any other martial arts techniques recorded in the Plague Sect. Anyway, he had never used them in the challenge tournament. He had always been using the gold and jade body and the modern Xing Yi in Jianghu. Thinking of this, Yen Jika couldn't help but feel a little worried. She picked up her phone and sent what Xing Jingjing had told her to Lu Cheng. 6th seed. In the living room of the Lu family, Lu Debang cheered up. He picked up the phone next to him, dialed the number, and laughed loudly. "Oh, old Lu, are you watching TV? Are you watching? Have you watched Xing Province Satellite TV? It's broadcasting my grandson's competition. It's the youth tournament, a provincial tournament for young martial artists. He's already in the top 8, and he's up against some 6th seed. Which grandson? Qing from the Jisheng family. Old Zhu, didn't I mention this to you before? Look at Xing Province Satellite TV. Qing is here." Old Mr. and Mrs. Lu informed their relatives and friends one by one. They were so excited that their faces were rosy. Wang Lily pulled Lu Jiqiang and whispered, "Why don't you tell old Xian and the others? This is also a good thing for our family. Wei Wei will have more confidence when he goes on a blind date in the future. What's there to say? What if he loses?" Lu Jiqiang never had anything good to say. Lu Yanwei sat in the single-seater sofa nearby, feeling the liveliness in the living room. For a moment, he felt like he was dreaming. Isn't the life I've been dreaming of Chang's? I can see hope and a better future, in the high school group chat. Du Liu, whose nickname was Little Xian, sent a link. "Everyone, go and support Cheng. He's up against the 6th seed in the top 8. What the hell?" Tong Hua, his former desk mate, asked blankly. Before Du Liu could answer, Jiang Fei, who had been patient for a long time, said, "Cheng, that's Lu Cheng. He's taking part in the provincial youth tournament. He's already in the top 8. Really? Really?" Xiong Tao asked in surprise. "The provincial young warrior champion competition? That sounds like a very high standard. When Lu Cheng was in high school, he was good at studying, but he was not good at sports. It's true. I'm totally in awe of Cheng." Qin Rui, who was with the Gushan Martial Arts School in another stand, echoed. With a recognized master like him as a witness, the students of Class 4 were skeptical for a moment. They clicked on the link and buffered the data. Lu Cheng's fan forum was as lively as it had been since this morning. The returnees, led by Nia Chichi and all good names are taken by dogs, expressed that they were very happy to see the familiar moderator of the forum, Eternal Nightfall, and the lovely girl, Brahman. They would support Lu Cheng and continue to cheer for him. Bull Demon King and Naive, who joined because of the conspiracy, were disdainful of the result of the draw. They thought it was inevitable that things would get out of hand. They hoped Lu Cheng could defeat his opponent and enter the top 4 smoothly. Bad Girl and Scheming Bitch, as well as other conspiracy theorists, used the result of the draw to slap the faces of the conspirators, saying that there was no bullying and that it was all Lu Cheng's hype. They hoped that he would catch a cold and be seriously ill. Looking at the continuous chaos in the forum, the onlookers, Eternal Nightfall, Brahman, Unparalleled Dragon King, and Okamoto's fan, all sighed and wanted to return to the harmonious and stable situation in the past. As die-hard fans, Eternal Nightfall and Brahman both admitted that they were weak. Because it was the first match, Lu Cheng and Yan Zhika didn't discuss for long before the singing and dancing ended. The ring was cleaned up and the referee walked up. He had to put down his phone, calm his mind and focus on improving his condition. The first match, Lu Cheng vs Meng Jiefeng. The referee glanced at the electronic clock and gestured to both sides. Lu Cheng had the impulse to wave to Yan Zhika in the stands, but he restrained himself when he thought of her special reminder and felt the focus of the camera. He couldn't show his affection in front of the TV audience, or his father-in-law would kill Gao Fen tonight with a knife. Recalling Yan Zhika's kiss of encouragement in the evening, he took a deep breath and walked along the road of light to the stone steps under the illumination of the big lights. During this process, he was like a newly bought car. Every step he took was equivalent to a trip. His body and mind were gradually getting used to each other and his momentum was slowly rising. When he stepped on the ring, there was a series of explosive sounds in his body, either crisp or low. His bones and tendons were crying at the same time, rising steadily. Such power made the audience hold their breath and feel that Lu Cheng, the number 18 player, seemed to be a little taller. Meng Jiefeng was of medium height, with short hair and strong eyes. Wearing a dark blue martial arts suit, he looked a little charming. He stepped on the ring almost at the same time as Lu Cheng. He stood straight and restrained his momentum, not tit for tat. The referee raised his right hand and exhaled. Talk time starts now. Meng Jiefeng looked at Lu Cheng with a smile. You must be under a lot of pressure, right? It's normal. Lu Cheng answered without humility. No, you're lying. Meng Jiefeng's eyes suddenly became sharp, as if he was interrogating a criminal. You're afraid that you'll be affected by my cold wind force and fall sick after the match. If you lose to your opponent in the semi-finals tomorrow, you won't be able to enter the finals. In that case, you won't be able to prove your strength. Everyone will think that you're a scheming villain who made it to the semi-finals by some unscrupulous trick. He wanted to plant the seed of indecisiveness in his opponent's heart, make him make a mistake in judgment, and make him hesitate. I have a clear conscience. What others say doesn't affect me at all. Lu Cheng said frankly, if there is an opponent, I will challenge him face to face. If there is a smear, I will also challenge him face to face. I will fight back with victory again and again. This is my martial arts creed. It may not be mature, but at least it's my true thought. When I step on the ring, I will only think about the opponent in front of me. I will use all my strength to welcome him and defeat him. This is the greatest respect for him. As for the later matches and the final impact, it's not within my consideration. Because of the disturbance before the match, he had some feelings. With the help of this conversation, he sorted out his thoughts. In actual combat, the more you are afraid of something, the more likely it is to happen. He had to be firm in his thinking. Meng Jiefeng narrowed his eyes and said with a smile, I hope you can remember what you said just now. He didn't say anything more. He didn't want to overdo it. After a while, the referee confirmed the time, raised his right hand again, and swung it down fiercely. Begin. Meng Jiefeng's muscles and fascia suddenly swelled, stretching his martial arts suit. Visible to the naked eye, his blood vessels and tendons were protruding. They were dark blue like iron, making his skin as hard and cold as metal. Golden jade body was just a way to describe it. Meng Jiefeng took a step forward. With his back as the axis, he twitched the fascias on the side and opened his right arm. Bam! His neck suddenly became thick, rubbing against the air and making an explosive sound. The dark blue blood vessels and fascias seemed to outline a horrifying pattern. Bam! With a series of crisp sounds, his right fist swung out as his body rushed forward at a high speed. Lu Cheng's heart was as cold as ice. As his thoughts flashed, he shifted his center of gravity, straightened his spine, and jumped back. After stepping into the dance stage, his condensation stand seemed to have improved because of the wonderful feeling. It didn't mean that he had a premonition or the absolute reaction to malice, but it helped his mind to be clearer, his vision to be more direct, and his judgment to be more accurate. Seeing his opponent retreating, Meng Jiefeng stepped on the ground and followed up with the help of the accurate rebound force. However, just as his body was about to leap forward, Lu Cheng suddenly stopped. He lowered his center of gravity and exerted strength in his footsteps. In a split second, he turned from retreating to advancing. He expanded his back muscles and punched out his right fist. A ferocious counterattack. He grasped the timing so well that Meng Jiefeng's punch was very awkward because he had used up all his strength and hadn't used up all his strength yet. Hiss! Meng Jiefeng took a breath, slightly retracted his strength, and then released it. This made his right fist strangely retracted, and his left arm became bigger. He swung it out horizontally, and the dark blue pattern on his neck became more obvious. This was the application of the strength of the whole body as one. Seeing that his arm was about to hit his opponent's fist, Lu Cheng suddenly shifted his center of gravity again, dragging his arm that was actually swung out. He changed his position abruptly, disappeared from Meng Jiefeng's sight, and flashed to his back. In this abrupt process, Lu Cheng's strength changed smoothly, so that his twisted movements were smooth and natural. Dance stage. In the TV broadcast room, guest commentator Yu Hong seemed to exclaim. "Dan stage." Zhang Zhutong didn't go back to the lounge, but stood on the sidelines, exhaling. What he didn't want to see happened. In one match after another, Lu Qing maintained his high-speed growth, shortening the time needed to grind, and became a real Dan stage mighty one. Once he was behind his opponent, Lu Qing straightened his back without hesitation, so that his right fist could be regenerated. With his tightened muscles and the thundercloud in his mind, he smashed towards Meng Jiefeng's spine. Bam! The wind was so strong that Meng Jiefeng's hair stood on end, and he felt a little pain and numbness. But he didn't look panicked, and instead, he raised the corner of his mouth. "Good, you're behind me now." Suddenly, an evil bell engraved with patterns appeared in his mind. Buzz! His abdomen wriggled, and his internal organs were stimulated. A low, inaudible, evil sound came from his throat. When Lu Cheng's fist was about to hit, his ears moved, and his head suddenly throbbed. His arm couldn't help but soften. Chapter 267. Ever since he was a child, Lu Cheng, who was considered healthy, had never experienced what it meant to have a splitting headache. But at this moment, he suddenly understood the meaning of these 4 words. In the arena, in the middle of a battle, without any warning, it was as if he suddenly had an acute illness. No, it was not an acute illness. He remembered the changes in his ears and instantly realized what was going on. It was the unique skill of the plague sect. It was the unique skill of the plague sect that gave people headaches when they couldn't hear it. And the opponent would definitely take advantage of your illness to kill you. At this moment, Meng Jiefeng pursed his lips and his eyes flashed with a strong desire to fight. He turned his waist and kicked his right leg from the bottom to the top, like a scorpion swinging its tail. One of the most common mistakes made by fighters who were close to or had just entered the Dan stage was to think that they could respond with force concentration at any time. It was true that they could reduce the effect of the headache by shrinking their qi and blood. But at such a distance, blindly using force concentration was equivalent to being a human sandbag. Even if the force of an ordinary attack would be reduced, and it would be difficult to directly break the attack in defense of force concentration, I can still kick your vital parts. Bam! His dark blue trousers tightened in an instant, and his whole right leg seemed to have become thicker. He whipped the air between Lu Cheng's legs. Horseback kick, scorpion swings its tail. Lu Cheng just woke up, and the scene of the life and death battle with the professional 9th pin of the dark sect flashed in his mind. His hair stood on end, and he seemed to have stepped back into the dangerous situation where he could lose his life in 3 to 5 moves. There was no fear, no panic, and no hesitation. His heart was as cold as ice, so he calmly made a decision. He moved his arm joints and stretched his fascia. In a very short distance, he flicked his 5 fingers and grabbed Meng Jiefeng's back, tearing his dark blue martial arts suit. Clang! Meng Jiefeng reacted immediately. His skin swelled like iron, and blocked the claw that could break a metal chain. Lu Qing didn't expect to break the defense of the golden jade body at once. The force at his fingertips was smooth and transparent, and the claw became a press. He pressed down. Under the pressure, Meng Jiefeng's center of gravity sank, and the power of his right leg almost dissipated halfway. It slowed down for a moment, then slowed down for a moment, then whistled again. With the help of the rebound from the downward press, Lu Qing endured the headache, swayed his center of gravity, and forcibly turned his body sideways, narrowly avoiding the deadly horse kick. He also took advantage of the momentum to bounce back a few steps, widening the distance between them. He gathered his qi and blood, gathered his strength, and concentrated all the sensations of the headache into one. Beautiful. Attack as defense, advance as retreat. Caught off guard, Lu Cheng's response was too beautiful. In the TV broadcast room, when Lu Cheng flicked his 5 fingers, guest commentator Yu Hong praised, "You can watch the replay later." Meng Jiefeng's abdomen swelled and his throat squirmed. Obviously, he used a sound skill that is hard to hear. If I'm not wrong, it should be the pain chime of the plague sex chime of the bell. He has never used it before, so it's impossible to guard against it. In this situation, Lu Cheng, who has a headache, can still make such a response, which shows his actual combat ability. He suddenly paused, because Meng Jiefeng didn't look disappointed after his kick missed. He turned around and faced Lu Cheng. When Lu Cheng was about to use the force concentration, his eyes turned dark again, his abdomen swelled, and his throat trembled. Together with the chime of the chime, he made an invisible sound. Buzz. The blood vessels on Lu Cheng's forehead throbbed, and his head hurt again. His spirit was also affected, and his attempt to use the force concentration was disrupted before it was completed. The sound skill of the plague sect not only attacked the body, but also the spirit. Meng Jiefeng used the headache chime twice in a row. Even with the physique of the Dan stage, his face turned pale. Taking advantage of the chaos in his opponent's body, he took a deep breath, bulged his temples, and flushed his skin. Boom! As if there was gunpowder exploding in his body, he swung his right arm backward and shot forward, driving his body to break the airflow and shortening the distance. Like a cannonball, he blasted toward Lu Cheng's chest and abdomen. This is the modern blast punch, mixed with the tremor punch. I came to this youth tournament with the intention of entering the top 4 and creating an upset. The backlash from the disruption of force concentration made it impossible for Lu Cheng to make similar attempts for a short period of time. He didn't have time to dodge or move away either. Facing the fierce fist, he took a short breath to stabilize his chi and blood. He visualized a scene of dark clouds and thunder. Bam! The muscles of his hand, wrist, forearm, and upper arm tightened. He swung his shoulder and punched with his right fist. Seabed quake. Tremor punch versus tremor punch. Bang! An explosion came from the smokeless arena, blowing wind and waves in all directions. Lu Cheng's chi and blood were tumbling, and his internal organs were stimulated. He felt so uncomfortable that his throat was dry and his mind was dizzy. Meng Jiefeng also had a similar feeling, but since he practiced the gold and jade body, he was much more resistant than his opponent. His abdomen shrank, and his neck became thicker again. Blue and black veins bulged out, weaving into a strange pattern. Bam! He didn't retreat. His swollen left arm fiercely punched out, his fist glowing with a blue and black luster. Lu Cheng was afraid of being affected by his opponent's unique skill of the plague sect, so he didn't dare to use the force concentration before he completely recovered. He only used the internal training method to control his internal organs, compress his muscles, and create a reverse shock to counteract the attack. In a hurry, he crossed his arms in front of him to block Meng Jiefeng's fist. Whoosh! With a whistling sound, Lu Cheng only felt that his opponent's fist was hot and cold, which made his body feel empty all of a sudden, as if he had been hit by a dark wind. He couldn't help but shiver, as if he was about to fall ill. Cold wind force? He thought of something and didn't hesitate anymore. He visualized the scene of a red sun falling to the ground and smashing into the frozen river. He didn't have time to prepare for the severe warning, but that wasn't his goal. According to the discussion before the competition, he used visualization to drive the collision between the frost and the flame to create the explosion of the supernatural ability and disperse the strange force invading his body. Ice and fire strangulation. Boom! Lu Cheng's face alternated between red and blue. The cold current and the hot wave mixed and surged out, completely eliminating the feeling of emptiness. However, Meng Jiefeng couldn't just watch him recover, so he kept on attacking him without any interruption. As soon as the cold wind force came out, he got rid of the negative status of the continuous use of the headache buzzing. He planted his feet, lowered his waist, and used the force concentration. Boom! The force gushed out. Meng Jiefeng's skin propped up, showing the blue and black color. He took a step forward with a slightly taller posture, bent his back, and flicked out his right arm. He made it connect the joints and expand gradually, as if it had turned into a long spear. Pulley pulley. Lu Cheng had just gotten rid of the influence of the cold wind force, and now he was facing this seemingly invincible attack. Under normal circumstances, a normal dance stage fighter wouldn't have time to use the force concentration to resist. Failure was close at hand. However, Lu Qing took a breath and immediately restrained his qi, blood, force, and spirit. However, he didn't try to go to the extreme, nor did he try to condense it into a point. Instead, he hugged a half-formed Dan in a fast way. It contained a way to balance and a way to rotate. The half-formed, human body Big Dan first solidified and then exploded, surging out a strong wave. This is also possible. The guest commentator Yu Hong whispered to himself. This seemed to be an attempt by a martial artist to imitate the force concentration, but in fact, it was different from them. Except for the fact that the power was much weaker, it was no different from the real force concentration. In a flash, Lu Qing completed the half-formed explosion of the Dan stage. His muscles swelled rapidly, and he leaned forward. He swung his shoulders and punched down. Bam! When the two fists collided, Meng Jiefeng leaned back again. His arm muscles stretched so much that his sleeves were about to burst. He gave full play to the pulley force. Lu Cheng's half-formed explosion was obviously weaker than Meng Jiefeng's full strength. After being hit by the pulley force, he couldn't stabilize his center of gravity and was thrown into the air. From the beginning, he had been passive all the time. Between life and death, every move was fatal. Yanjika unconsciously covered her mouth, afraid that she would call out Lu Cheng's name. Before the carp leaping over Dragon Gate, a martial artist who didn't have the supernatural ability to fly was forced to leave the ground. This meant that he would soon lose the match. Meng Jiefeng had been hiding his strength in the previous matches, but now he was showing his true strength. Awesome. Zhang Zhutong smiled with a complicated tone. Meng Jiefeng was much stronger than before. If Lu Qing hadn't encountered him, Zhang Zhutong would have been forced into a passive position. Lu Qing wasn't the only one who could surprise others. Qiu Lin could do it, and so could Meng Jiefeng. After sending Lu Qing flying with one move, Meng Jiefeng once again concentrated his qi in his dantian and made a double explosion. Crack! With a cracking sound, he pounced on Lu Qing like a cannonball. At this time, Lu Qing had just adjusted his center of gravity and was still 2 meters away from the ground. If he hadn't blocked the attack with his half-formed explosion, he wouldn't have been able to adjust his center of gravity. Seeing Meng Jiefeng standing below and waiting for a chance to make a move, Lu Qing took a deep breath and adjusted his center of gravity so that his upper body leaned down. Then, he seized the short time to adjust his muscles and prepare. In his mind, he visualized the scene of the red sun falling into the frozen river. Come on. Accept the severe warning. Seeing Lu Qing was about to land on his head, Meng Jiefeng suddenly smiled and stepped to the side of his opponent's feet. It's not like I haven't seen the fight between you and Qiu Lin. It's not like I don't know that you have a simplified physical invulnerability move. How can I fight you head-on when you have time to prepare? Meng Jiefeng's joints were accumulating strength, and the fascia on his wrist and fingers were protruding. The eagle claw broke through the air and the spear finger blocked the rear. Lu Qing wasn't disappointed by his opponent's caution. Taking advantage of the time when his opponent moved, he made a force concentration in midair. His body suddenly curled up into a ball with the convergence of his qi, blood, force, and spirit. Then, he quickly stretched his body in the air and kicked out his right foot fiercely with the help of the explosive force of the dance stage. Bam! His right foot kicked Meng Jiefeng's eagle claw. Using the rebound, he straightened his body and kicked out his left foot toward his opponent's throat, as if he wanted to use it as a fulcrum to fly to a higher level. Chang'e flying to the moon. Meng Jiefeng was shaken by Lu Cheng's dance stage kick. He deeply felt that if it weren't for the fact that Lu Qing was in midair and couldn't fully exert his strength, he would have taken a few steps back and lost the opportunity to win. When Lu Qing landed on the ground, he would have made 2 force concentrations and let out 2 headache noises. It would be very difficult for him to defeat his opponent who could still make several consecutive bursts. He raised his left arm and blocked Lu Cheng's foot. Following that, he flipped and pushed, leveraging on Lu Cheng's strength to make his opponent fly higher. Lu Cheng used this opportunity to swing his body and jump forward. He flipped over his opponent's head and dived into the distance like a big bird, looking for the support of the ground. But Meng Jiefeng swung his center of gravity and took 3 steps back. Once again, he seized the position. He took a deep breath, condensed his qi and blood, and made a forced concentration. Bam! His temples bulged, and his waist and back twitched, making a rocket-like rocket cannon. A real cannonball. While he was making a forced concentration, Lu Cheng also made a forced concentration. He condensed his qi and blood and accelerated his fall as if he had used a 1,000-pound drop. Boom! At that point of explosion, Lu Cheng suddenly tightened his martial arts suit and reached out his right hand to grab his opponent's fist. Bam! His blood vessels and tendons were protruding, trembling involuntarily under the impact of the explosion. But his 5 fingers firmly grasped his opponent's right fist. Buzz! While operating the internal training method to eliminate the vibration, Lu Cheng heard his opponent's movements with the help of the great success of meditation. He was going to make a left punch, seabed collapse. Lu Cheng's 5 fingers changed from grasping to pressing. His body bounced up and avoided Meng Jiefeng's consecutive attacks in time. Then, he seized the opportunity to lower his center of gravity and finally landed on the ground before his opponent kicked out his right leg. With his feet on the ground, Lu Cheng took a deep breath and made a forced concentration again, swinging his left arm back. Double explosion. At such a close distance, Meng Jiefeng had no other choice but to make a second double explosion. His temples bulged, and he made a modern blast punch to meet Lu Cheng head-on. Bam! Both of them trembled at the same time. Meng Jiefeng resisted with his golden jade body, while Lu Cheng completed another forced concentration to recover completely. Triple explosion. He was going to suppress his opponent with continuous explosions. The unique skills of the Plague sect were very powerful, but I won't give you a chance to use them. Bam! Unable to keep up with the rhythm, Meng Jiefeng's arms trembled, his qi and blood rolled, and he lost his center of gravity. Lu Cheng took the opportunity to catch up with him. He circled around his opponent and swung his arms. Dang! 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 1 shock. 2 shocks. 3 shocks. Lu Cheng hit the metal with his fists and continuously made thunder zen, not giving Meng Jiefeng a chance to recover and use the unique skills of the Plague sect. 4 shocks. 5 shocks. 6 shocks. Lu Cheng stretched out his body like the thunder god descending to earth. He punched his enemy's shoulder with his right fist from above. Dang! A crisp sound echoed. Meng Jiefeng staggered, but he didn't suffer any external injuries. Instead, he fell to the ground in dizziness. Lu Cheng was so excited that he wanted to give him 2 more thunder zen, but was stopped by the referee. Lu Cheng wins. His voice reverberated far and wide, and the audience actually felt a sense of contentment. Chapter 268. Lu Cheng wins. Seeing Meng Jiefeng fall to the ground and hearing the referee's announcement, Yan Zhika forgot her modesty and scruples. She stood up with a whoosh, waving her hands and shouting something unconsciously with a flushed face. Before this, her heart was constantly changing with the development of the battle. She had accumulated too many worries and uneasiness. She always felt that her boyfriend was forced to walk on the edge of danger, walking on a tightrope, swaying, and could be defeated by the next move at any time. Now, with the dawn and the arrival of victory, the accumulated emotions surged like a volcanic eruption, as if experiencing the forced concentration. She was so excited that her body trembled slightly. Ching won. Ching won. Relaxation, ecstasy, pride, excitement, and other emotions were like a storm, roaring and circling in her heart for a long time without stopping. After the initial outburst, Yenjika calmed down a little and regained her rationality. Subconsciously, she turned her head and looked in the direction of Lu Cheng's parents, Lu Cheng's other relatives and friends. She was afraid that they would notice her loss of self-control and realize something. He won. Even if Qi Fang did not understand the martial arts competition, she could still feel the thrill just now. She could feel the silence and depression of Jiang Fei and the others. At this moment, her heart returned to its original place and she broke out with excitement that was rarely seen in the past. Not only her, but Lu Jisheng also tilted his gold-rimmed glasses and kept waving his fists with the people next to him. Chao Lei and Qi Yunfei also vented their emotions and shouted crazily, "He won! He won! Cheng, brother Lu Cheng, won!" Seeing their reaction and the camera still focused on the arena, Yan Zhika secretly felt relieved, knowing that no one had noticed her excitement just now. At this moment, she found that Gu Shuang beside her was also waving her hands and excitedly joining the crowd, shouting, "Lu Cheng! Lu Cheng!" After a while, Gu Shuang noticed the gazes of her two best friends. She shrank her neck and stuck out her tongue. The battle was so thrilling just now. "I'm also very excited." Together with the atmosphere of the scene, she forgot to be a lady for a while. "Then let's continue." Yan Zhika held her best friend's hand proudly and waved it forward. "Lu Cheng wins." When the referee's voice entered his ears, Lu Cheng stopped what he was doing and let out a long sigh of relief. He suddenly felt relaxed and happy. Just now, it really made him relive the thrill of taking a life in 3 to 5 moves. This was different from the battle against Qiu Lin. At that time, although Qiu Lin had displayed the realm of lotus steps and Buddha sound accompanying, which was beyond his expectations and made things difficult for him, the whole process was still under his control, just as Ku had said. Previously, when Meng Jiefeng used the weird sound skill of the plague sect, he had been in a passive position. When he was thrown into the air by the force, every step he took was fraught with danger. He had been walking on the line of failure. If there was a slight flaw in his judgment and response, he would be defeated and unable to make it to the top 4. This was a test of one's actual combat, as well as a measure of one's realm. If he hadn't truly stepped into the Danqi level, his force concentration would flow naturally. However, it was very likely that he wouldn't be able to complete it in time in midair. Therefore, he wouldn't be able to rely on it to do things that seemed to go against the human body and the laws of nature. After seeing Meng Jiefeng struggling to stand up, Lu Cheng relaxed his muscles and fascias and said with a smile, "You have the strength to make it to the top 4. I'm not being modest." Meng Jiefeng gasped for breath, his eyes still showing dizziness. It took him a lot of effort to resist the urge to vomit. "Unfortunately, I met a freak like you." If Lu Cheng's physical strength had been a little weaker, he would have had the chance to squeeze out his remaining strength and use the headache sound again. Unfortunately, there was still no sign of fatigue on his face. Sigh, if only I had the strength of a 7th pin and could use the headache sound again when he was thrown into the air, the result would be different. Lu Cheng didn't have the ability to read minds, so he couldn't hear the series of "what if" in Meng Jiefeng's mind. He could only follow his tone and say, "Everyone has their own strengths. Although I'm freakishly strong and can explode several times in a row, haven't you also mastered the sound skill of the plague sect? If I had it, you wouldn't have a chance at all." Perhaps it was because of the residual excitement after the hard battle, he didn't turn around and leave the arena after a few words as usual. For a moment, he even showed signs of turning into a chatterbox. "You're right. You're right." Meng Jiefeng shook his head and shook off the "what if." He rubbed his temples and said, "The cold wind force is not that simple. You should take a hot bath later and don't stay in the air conditioner at night. If you catch a cold tomorrow, don't blame me for not warning you. No wonder it's the influenza virus. The unique skill of the plague sect is really disgusting." Lu Cheng cupped his hands and said, "Thank you." After that, the two turned around and left the arena in different directions. "I won." In the living room of the Lu family, Lu Yanwei touched his chest and found that his heart was beating so fast that it was almost unbearable. Too exciting, this match is too exciting. Fortunately, Cheng won. He took 2 deep breaths and suddenly remembered something. He turned his head and looked to the side. Even a young man like me is so excited. Grandpa and Grandma are so old. I hope they don't have a heart attack. In his worry, he saw his grandpa's ruddy face and heard him ask in confusion, "You won?" "I won." Lu Yanwei gave an affirmative answer. "Good, good, good." Lu Debong and Lu Yanwei picked up the phone and called their family and friends. Cheng enjoyed the praise and compliments for a while. Wang Lily glared at Lu Jiqiang and complained, "It's all your fault. Why can't Cheng win? Quick, call old Xian and the others and make them proud. It's already over. What's the point of calling? Let them watch the replay." Lu Jiqiang refused to admit his fault. In the high school group chat, another deskmate of Lu Cheng, Wang Jia, sent an emoji of a Madam Chai smiled slightly, thinking that things are not so simple. "Oh my god, I feel like I'm in a fake high school with a fake deskmate." "Me too." Jiang Fei sent an emoji of cold sweat. "I think I've been living in a fake world since I met Cheng." Du Liu's former deskmate, Tong Hua, sent an emoji of snap of fingers. "I remember. At the reunion before the new year, didn't Lu Qing say that he was successful in martial arts and was young Master Lu? He really is a young master." "Oh, right, he also said that he quit drinking and smoking in order to practice martial arts. Because of this, he had a conflict with a rich man. I didn't believe it at first, but now it seems that it's true." "Please don't say it. We didn't have a conflict." Tao Xiaofei sent an emoji of, "I'm now at Brother Lu's beck and call. I'm so proud." Many of the students who had been lurking in the water surfaced and excitedly discussed the battle just now. They didn't expect that a classmate would become a celebrity after only 1 year out of high school. "He was so awesome. You scared me to death." After Wu Ting finished venting her passion, she grabbed Zhang Qiufan's hand and said in fear. Zhang Qiufan raised her head proudly. "I wasn't scared. I always believed that Sir Lu could win. You're inexperienced and have no vision. I've been through a lot and experienced all kinds of challenges and scares, but I still support Sir Lu and believe that he can win. We're in different worlds." Wu Ting said with conviction. Zhang Qiufan and Yao Ruiwei next to her were stunned. They seemed to think that it was true. Wu Ting glanced at her father Wu Qinggui and her uncle Wei Renjia, only to find that they were all silent and didn't know how to communicate with each other. She was shocked speechless. Walking down the stone steps, Lu Cheng looked at the stands and pretended to wave to his parents. In fact, he was looking at Yan Zhika in front of him. "Lu Cheng, we meet again." Wu Wei stopped him. "Congratulations. You really made it to the top 4 and achieved your goal." "Thank you." Lu Cheng retracted his gaze and responded politely. Wu Wei chuckled. "So what's your new goal for tomorrow's game?" Every question was a trap. "I don't have a specific goal. I'll play every game well and verify what I've learned. I'll apply what I've thought and practiced in practice to see if it works or not. If it works, why it doesn't work." Lu Cheng was still chatty like before. "Nothing interesting," Wu Wei criticized in her mind. Then she asked again with a smile, "Everyone noticed that you were stiff twice in the game just now. There was also a painful expression on your face. Was it because of your opponent's unique skill of the plague sect? How did you feel at that time?" "Yes, it should be the sound skill of the plague sect that can't be heard by human ears. As for feeling it, it was like my head was going to split open." Lu Cheng recalled the battle. Wu Wei asked about some details of the game. Then she raised her eyebrows and smiled. "Lu Cheng, have you heard the news? The news about your conversation with Qiu Lin?" "Yes." Lu Cheng knew that the reporters wouldn't let it go. "What do you think?" "I think a lot of people are saying that it's unfair." Wu Wei asked skillfully. Lu Cheng didn't know whether she meant that the organizing committee was unfair to him or that Lu Cheng didn't draw Zhang Zhutong and Han Jifei, which was unfair to the other contestants. Lu Qing thought for a while and said, I believe that the organizing committee is fair. I always do. He didn't say more because he felt that the more he said, the easier it would be for him to be criticized. Is this the trouble of becoming famous? Yenjika sat down again and listened to her boyfriend's interview. She seemed to understand his feelings. She frowned slightly and took out her phone to check Lu Cheng's fan forum, only to find that it was still noisy. On one side, Eternal Nightfall, Brahman, and Unparalleled Dragon King were venting their excitement. Some were acting cute, some were infatuated, some were analyzing, and some were congratulating Lu Cheng for making it to the top 4. On the other side, many people were still cursing, and their attitudes were even more vicious. See? He made it to the top 4 with a trick. If he hadn't drawn Meng Jiefeng, he would never have made it to the top 4. He just said that he always believed in the organizing committee. Hypocrite, a hypocrite worse than a villain. F***ck, F***ck, nothing good ever happens to good people. Bad people always get what they want. Seeing that they were cursing fiercely, Eternal Nightfall couldn't hold back her anger anymore. She jumped out and said, Don't you have eyes? Don't you have ears? Didn't you hear the guest grandpa say that Meng Jiefeng has mastered the sound skill of the plague sect and has the strength to make it to the top 4? She tried to make herself look fierce, but it was true that she was not good at insulting people. She looked weak. So what? It's just a mouth. Yenjika looked at them cursing and Brahman and others joining in the fight. Suddenly, she felt a little emotional. She pursed her lips and gritted her teeth. These shouldn't be borne by Cheng. After Zhang Zhutong defeated a non-seeded fighter, Han Jifei defeated the 3rd-seeded fighter, and Lu Xuanjun defeated the 8th-seeded fighter, the audience began to leave the stadium. Yan Zhika followed Gu Shuang and Xing Jingjing to a nearby parking lot with a heavy heart. All of a sudden, she raised her head and said with determination, I'm not going anywhere. Shuang, take me to Cheng's room. Gu Shuang was confused and then blurted out, Isn't he in the semi-finals tomorrow? What are you thinking about? Yan Zhika was annoyed and amused at the same time. Then she bit her lower lip and said, I have something to tell him. Can't you QQ or call him? Gu Shuang frowned. Yan Zhika shook her head and said, I want to tell him face to face. Okay. Gu Shuang knew that Ku was stubborn and wouldn't change her mind easily. She had to give in. In the room, Lu Cheng had just arrived and turned off the air conditioner. He was about to brush his teeth and go to bed when he saw a message from his girlfriend. I'm outside the door. Outside the door? Lu Cheng was confused and at a loss. Isn't Ku sleeping with Gu Shuang? Why is she outside my door? Could it be? He couldn't help but think of something else. His throat was dry and his mind was full of strange thoughts. Tomorrow is the semi-finals and the final, forget it. Go to hell with the competition. It's not like there's only one challenge tournament. He ran to the door and suddenly felt something was wrong. Ku's message was not as lively as usual. Something else? He opened the door in confusion and saw his girlfriend in a chiffon blouse. She looked fresh and graceful in the dim light. He moved aside and let her in. Lu Qing closed the door and was about to say something when Yan Zhika looked down at her toes and said, Qing, do you know about the scandal? Did you see the quarrel in the forum? Yes. What's wrong? Lu Qing asked in surprise. Yan Zhika took a breath and bit her pink lips. I asked someone to create hype. I'm afraid there will be suppression. After saying this, she exhaled as if she had been freed from a difficult situation. Since it has come to this, I don't want to hide it from Cheng. Lu Cheng was stunned. He suddenly remembered his conversation with Meng Jiefeng. He said he had a clear conscience about the scandal. Was it because the committee didn't pick Zhang Zhutong or Han Jifei? It was not fair to the other contestants. He knew Ku was doing this for his own good. He was touched but also had other inexplicable emotions. Yenjika glanced at him timidly. Cheng, are you angry? Hearing his girlfriend's question and seeing her quail-like appearance, Lu Qing said, no. Casanova's teaching flashed in his mind. If you want to communicate, you need to communicate with a good attitude. When communicating, you need to praise the girl first. Lu Qing considered his words and continued, I'm actually quite touched. You've done so many things for me. I can feel your heart, but what? Yenjika heaved a sigh of relief and asked. However, in the future, if there are similar and bigger matters, can you discuss with me first and ask for my opinion? Lu Qing hurriedly explained, I'm not saying you didn't do a good job. I just don't like the feeling of being kept in the dark. In this way, he could persuade her in time. Yenjika said, I didn't want to hide it from you. That's why I came here. Maybe I'm used to making my own decisions. I haven't developed the habit of discussing with you. I'll try my best in the future. After this incident, she suddenly felt that when two people were together, they had to be honest with each other. They had to communicate and discuss with each other. They couldn't be too self-centered. This was indeed uncomfortable, but it was a price they had to pay. I will too. Lu Qing didn't dwell on the previous incident. Since it happened, hearing his words, Yenjika suddenly snorted. It's good that you know. If something like Wang Su happens again in the future, will you still do it without asking for my opinion? No, I won't. Lu Qing hurriedly promised. How long ago was this? Why did she mention it? Who was the one who wanted to apologize just now? You're tuning into the Dreamy Love Stories YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.